Warrior Lore. Chapter 3958. Swish, swish, swish. Wang Xian and Long Yining flew towards the sky peak. The two elders watched with smiles. A large number of experts and disciples gathered in front of the sky peak. At the edge of the sky peak, there was an empty space. In front, there were luxurious seats. There were flags on the left and right sides of the seats. The words Saint were written on them. Sister, Brother Wang Xian. When Wang Xian and Long Yining flew over, a voice was heard. Long Yinhao quickly came over. Behind him, there were hundreds of disciples of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground. All eyes were on Wang Xian. This was the first time they saw Wang Xian. However, they had heard of Wang Xian's name like a thunderclap. He had suppressed more than a dozen saints of the Forbidden Grounds and was even stronger than their saints and saintesses. There was no doubt about his strength and talent. Wang Xian saw Long Yinhao and nodded. Greetings, Saint Wang Xian. From behind, a group of disciples flew over and immediately cupped their fists towards Wang Xian. You're welcome. Wang Xian waved at them and nodded with a smile. Brother Wang Xian, come over. Let me introduce you. Long Yinhao introduced the surrounding disciples to Wang Xian enthusiastically. Those who were able to follow him were the elites of this generation of disciples in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. They were the future pillars of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground. Wang Xian got to know them one by one. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Before long, beams of light lit up. From within the sky peak, figures with powerful auras flew over. One by one, the figures landed on the seats in front of them with smiles on their faces. These figures were all fifth-order universe sovereigns and above. Haha, come over, Xiaoxian. Let me introduce you to the elders and deacons. The third elder flew over and said to Wang Xian with a loud laugh. All right, third elder. Wang Xian nodded, looked at the elders and deacons, and cupped his fists. Greetings, elders and deacons. Wang Xian cupped his fists. Not at all. Saint Wang Xian has outstanding talent and will definitely become the top expert of the continent in the future. The group of deacons immediately returned the greeting with smiles. The status of a deacon in the forbidden area was inferior to that of a saint or saintess. Come, Xiaoxian. Let me introduce you to our great elder. The third elder began his introduction to Wang Xian. The great elder of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land was a white-haired old woman holding a walking stick. Child, not bad. You were able to join our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground and bring so many treasures. It is our honor. As the great elder, I cannot be stingy. Take it. The great elder waved his arm and a human-shaped water droplet floated in front of Wang Xian. When Wang Xian saw it, he was taken aback. This human-shaped water droplet was a treasure that could revive. He was stunned. An azure blue brilliance shrouded the entire sky. An old figure suddenly appeared in the sky above. When everyone saw this figure, their faces instantly revealed awe and respect. The group of elders and deacons immediately straightened their bodies and faced that figure. Greetings, Lord of the Forbidden Ground. Greetings, Lord of the Forbidden Ground. Hundreds of millions of experts and disciples of the Forbidden Ground hurriedly bowed and shouted loudly. Their voices reverberated throughout the entire island. No need to be reserved during the saint ceremony. The Lord of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground said plainly, his voice reaching everyone's ears. Wang Xian looked at the Lord of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground with a tinge of curiosity in his eyes. The Lord of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground was an old lady. Yes, a woman. This was something he hadn't expected. Wang Xian, right? Not bad. At this time, Wang Xian sensed that the Lord of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground was looking at him and nodded with a smile. His eyes were filled with admiration. Thank you for your appreciation, Lord of the Forbidden Ground. Wang Xian cupped his hands and expressed his gratitude. Space attribute, easily able to fight across levels. It's my honor. Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. Take a seat. The Lord of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground said with a smile. She looked at the group of elders and attendants and said softly, It's the Lord of the Forbidden Ground. The group of elders and attendants immediately sat at the front. Chapter 3959. A group of elders and attendants sat down. Wang Xian felt a wave of energy shrouding him. In the next moment, he appeared on a stage in front of him. The figure of the master of the forbidden ground also appeared in front of him. A special crown floated in front of her. The outstanding crown of the saint. This time, after Inhao Saintus and Saint, our dragon roar forbidden land will welcome our second saint. He is also the most talented saint. His name is Wang Xian. Today, I will be the saint of our dragon roar forbidden land. All the experts and disciples of the dragon roar forbidden land, obey the orders of the saint. The saint represents the future, reputation, and prestige of our dragon roar forbidden ground. No blasphemy or offense is allowed. The master of the dragon roar forbidden ground said, his voice echoing above the entire island. Today is the coronation. The master of the forbidden ground continued. She picked up the outstanding crown of the saint and placed it on Wang Xian's head. Greetings, Saint Wang Xian. Greetings, Saint Wang Xian. In the surrounding area of the dragon roar forbidden ground, all the experts and disciples below the level of deacon bowed and shouted loudly. Seeing this scene, Wang Xian couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging. This kind of ceremony, this kind of importance, even though he had just joined, had a very good impression of the roaring dragon forbidden land. Thank you, everyone. In the future, with me around, the reputation of the younger generation of the dragon roar forbidden ground will not fall. Wang Xian replied plainly to the experts and disciples of the dragon roar forbidden ground. The reputation of the younger generation will not fall. Good. The master of the dragon roar forbidden ground smiled and nodded. He looked at Wang Xian and said, according to the rules of our dragon roar forbidden ground, the saint has to show his strength and challenge those of a higher level. Xiao Xian, are you ready? Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head and looked ahead. In front of him, there were thousands of experts below the Fifth Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Let a First Order Universe Sovereign of the Space Attribute spar with Saint Wang Xian. The master of the dragon roar forbidden ground looked down and said, this wasn't to make things difficult for Wang Xian, but the process of the coronation. Moreover, they all knew that Wang Xian had reached the 8th level of the Moon Pagoda. It was a piece of cake for him to challenge those of a higher level. Lord of the Forbidden Grounds, let me spar with Saint Wang Xian. A middle-aged man moved and came to the front. He bowed to the master of the dragon roar forbidden ground and Wang Xian. Sure. The master of the dragon roar forbidden ground waved his arm and a wave of energy enveloped Wang Xian and the middle-aged man. Then, he retreated to the side. Saint Wang Xian, please enlighten me. The middle-aged man bowed to Wang Xian again and said, a sharp sword appeared in his hand. He was also a spatial swordsman. You go first. Wang Xian gestured to the middle-aged man. Saint Wang Xian, why don't you make the first move? The middle-aged man smiled and gestured to Wang Xian. If I make the first move, you won't have a chance. Take this. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man and spoke with a smile. With a wave of his arm, Sword 99 appeared around him and disappeared instantly. Upon hearing Wang Xian's confident words, the middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and filled his body with the power of space. Naturally, he had heard of Wang Xian's achievements and knew that he could fight beyond his level. Moreover, he could fight against 3 who were stronger than him. However, these words sounded a little too arrogant to the middle-aged man. Wang. However, in the next second, he narrowed his eyes. 90 sharp swords teleported and came to a position around him. The sharp swords trembled slightly. The surrounding space began to change violently. The middle-aged man sensed the changes and narrowed his eyes. He could feel that the void around him contained great terror. It was as though terrifying demonic beasts were in deep slumber. When the sharp swords attacked him, he felt all the demonic beasts awakening and pouncing towards him. This made his expression change drastically as he quickly waved the sharp swords in his hands. A giant sword circled around him and slashed at him. Bam, bam, bam. However, in the next moment, the power of space that he gathered with all his might collapsed. Those 90 sharp swords continued to attack him. Bam, bam. The 90 sharp swords penetrated the defense of the master of the dragon roar forbidden ground around him. This defense represented a life. With his defense broken, the 90 sharp swords floated around him and surrounded him tightly. His pupils constricted slightly as he revealed a horrified expression. He couldn't help but gasp. I didn't expect Saint Wang Xian to be so terrifying to kill me in an instant. His body trembled as he cupped his hands towards Wang Xian. Your space sword isn't pure. Your influence on the surrounding space is too weak. You need to strengthen it. Wang Xian smiled at the middle-aged man. As he finished his sentence, the 90 sharp swords returned to him. With a wave of his arm, he kept them. I've learned something. The middle-aged man pondered for a moment before nodding his head heavily. The sword that he loved was indeed not pure. This was related to his proficiency in swordsmanship. However, when he was pointed out by Saint Wang Xian in front of him, he was also shocked. This saint before him was too terrifying. Long Yinhao, the saint, couldn't be compared to him. Brother Wang Xian is awesome. Isn't this too strong? Long Yinhao's shocked exclamation came from behind. He widened his eyes and couldn't help but stand up. This was the first time he saw Wang Xian in action, killing an existence one level higher than him in an instant. Moreover, he only used 90 ordinary innate spiritual treasure swords. He didn't use any other innate cardinal treasures. What did this mean? He, Long Yinhao, could step into the 6th and 7th level of the Moon Pagoda. He used the forbidden curse art with all his might. That was achieved by piling up a large number of innate cardinal treasures. However, Wang Xian didn't have any powerful treasures to kill an existence one level higher than him in an instant. Too terrifying. He's really strong and terrifying. What an insane attack. The group of elders and deacons in front narrowed their eyes when they saw this scene. Some deacons and elders couldn't help but stand up. Naturally, they had seen the battle just now very clearly, including all the energy fluctuations. They naturally knew that the middle-aged man didn't hold back at all. Under such circumstances, he was easily killed in an instant. It could only be said that Wang Xian's strength was too terrifying. SSS, it can't be. He killed an existence one level higher than him in an instant? A pinnacle universe supremacy killed an expert at the First Order universe sovereign realm in an instant. Moreover, he didn't use any powerful treasures? Isn't this too easy and casual to fight someone above his level? At this time, the hundreds of millions of experts and disciples couldn't help but exclaim when they saw this scene. Chapter 3960. Previously, because of the presence of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground Master, all the experts and disciples were well-behaved and did not dare to make any noise. However, when they saw Wang Xian easily kill the First Order Universe Sovereign Space Swordsman, all the experts and disciples could not hold back. Even the elders and deacons exclaimed in surprise. His strength was too terrifying. The space attribute was known as the King of the 10 Attributes. Powerful space attribute swordsmen could fight above their level. Now, this Holy Son Wang Xian could easily kill a First Order Universe Sovereign Realm Space Dominator. Could he fight against Second Order Universe Sovereigns and experts of other attributes? It was not impossible, because the space attribute was powerful here. Very good. The Master of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land also had a look of shock in his eyes as he spoke in a heavy tone. The strength that Wang Xian had demonstrated had indeed shocked her. The Saint and Saintess of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, Long Yining and Long Yinhao, they could now fight above their level. However, they were fighting above their level, defeating someone stronger than them, and if they fought for a long time, they would be able to achieve victory. But Wang Xian was different. He killed them in an instant kill without any resistance. And the most important thing was the space attribute. The space attribute was the king of the 10 attributes, but it had a huge weakness. It was difficult to cultivate. Space sword techniques and spiritual arts were rare. Otherwise, all the experts and disciples would have cultivated the space attribute. Among 100 First Order Universe Sovereigns, there were only 1 or 2 experts with the space attribute. In addition, on the Sword and Sorcerer continent, the third-ranked force specialized in the space attribute. Wang Xian's combat strength was really terrifying. Thank you for your praise, Forbidden Ground Master. Wang Xian smiled and nodded when he heard the praises around him. Hee, very good. From today onwards, Xiao Xian, you will be the saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground Master smiled with satisfaction and said, Greetings, Holy Son Wang Xian. Holy Son Wang Xian has suppressed his peers. Greetings, Holy Son Wang Xian. Holy Son Wang Xian has suppressed his peers. As the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground Master's voice fell, all the experts and disciples bowed respectfully again. Wang Xian stood in the middle and smiled. Continue with the rest of the chosen sage ceremony. After saying that, the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land's Lord moved and instantly left. All the rulers of the magic nations, come forth and greet the saint. After the master of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land left, a deacon immediately spoke. Brother Wang Xian, take a seat of honor. Long Yinhao smiled and said to Wang Xian from behind. Wang Xian nodded his head and sat in the middle. Greetings, Saint Wang Xian from the Dragon Descendants Magic Nation. At this moment, the kings of the various magic nations flew over and greeted Wang Xian respectfully. These kings were high and mighty in their magic kingdom. However, there was still a huge gap between them and the saint. A single word from the saint could even change the king. The kings of the magic nation weren't weak. They all had the strength of a universe ruler. Every king would offer treasures to the emperor. There were all kinds of treasures, and the worst one was worth more than a dozen connate numinous treasures. Wang Xian sat there and accepted the gifts from hundreds of kings of magic nations one by one. It took a few hours just to receive the gifts. Prepare the banquet. Then, the next project continued. Prepare the banquet and celebrate. In addition, the disciples of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land were sparring and performing. Wang Xian also waved his hand and took out the treasures sent by the kings of the magic nations as the wager. This made the entire saint ceremony unusually lively. The process of preparing the banquet took a few days. Wang Xian, next is the guidance. The saint is talented, and his thinking and techniques are naturally better than the ordinary disciples. The saint is giving guidance to the other disciples to increase his prestige. The third process was guidance. In order to build up the prestige of the saint faster, the saint would give guidance to guide the ordinary disciples in their cultivation. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head. He was good at giving guidance to some disciples in their cultivation. After all, the strength of Wang Xian's original body was there. Disregarding other things, even the founder of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land might not be as good as Wang Xian in guiding disciples in their cultivation. After all, Wang Xian was a 9 origins divine dragon and was proficient in 9 attributes. In addition to the void divine dragon body, he would have 10 attributes. Next, I'll be preaching and imparting techniques. Any disciple can come up and ask for guidance. Wang Xian said plainly as he sat there. His voice was heard by every disciple. Greetings to the saint. Saint, I'm Long Etienne, a rank 3 universe venerable. I would like to seek guidance from the saint on swordsmanship. A disciple with a space attribute flew up and bowed respectfully. All right, show me your swordsmanship. Wang Xian nodded his head and gestured to him. Yes, Sir Saint. Long Etienne nodded his head and immediately began to perform the space sword technique. Wang Xian watched quietly with sparkling eyes. Tianyuan swordsmanship had no attributes. This kind of swordsmanship that led straight to the Tianyuan realm could be cultivated by any attribute. Wang Xian, who was cultivating the Tianyuan swordsmanship, watched Long Etienne perform the swordsmanship. It was like an adult watching a child learning how to walk. Your swordsmanship level is too low. You lack loopholes and techniques. I'll modify it for you. Feel it with your heart. Wang Xian flicked his finger, and a wave of space power surged into Long Etienne's body. This space power immediately controlled him to perform a swordsmanship. Huh. Long Etienne widened his eyes and felt it with his heart. He was shocked. Long Etienne, is there no high-level space attribute swordsmanship in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground? Long Etienne felt it, while Wang Xian looked at Long Etienne and asked directly. We don't have that in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. There aren't many spatial cultivators in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground to begin with. Most of them are of the water attribute. Long Yining shook his head and answered honestly. No wonder Long Etienne couldn't even fight above his level with his swordsmanship. Wang Xian shook his head and looked around. I have a space sword technique here. All space attribute disciples, come over. Huh. Is Saint Wang Xian going to impart swordsmanship to us? That's great, that's great. Thank you, Saint Wang Xian. The disciples of the space element revealed looks of excitement and immediately flew over. Even some experts who had reached the universe Lord realm hesitated before flying over. Saint Wang Xian, we don't have many space sword techniques in the Forbidden Ground and their levels are relatively low. Thank you, Saint Wang Xian, for imparting your swordsmanship today. A Fourth Order Universe Lord Realm space swordsman, who was also a deacon, cupped his fists and thanked Wang Xian. Chapter 3961. It's nothing. Wang Xian waved his hand at them. With a thought, he condensed every move in his mind. Wang. In front of him, a small person was condensed, containing strong spatial power. He waved his arm, and the small person flew forward. Practice and comprehend it, Wang Xian said directly. The small person in front of him began to execute the sword technique. The group of spatial attribute swordsmen focused their attention and immediately began to cultivate and comprehend it. As the small person danced, the eyes of the spatial attribute swordsmen turned colder and colder. Their faces lit up with excitement. This is a spatial sword technique that is just below the pinnacle. At the back, the group of elders and experts focused their attention when they saw this. Technique condensed into technique. Wang Xian can actually condense an advanced sword technique into a technique. SSS, how terrifying is our Wang Xian's comprehension of spatial sword technique? Wang Xian must have at least mastered a powerful pinnacle spatial sword technique. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do this. Technique condensed into technique, and it's a spatial attribute advanced sword technique. In our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, only I, the founder, can do it. Even the master of our Forbidden Ground can't do it. The group of elders was filled with shock. Technique condensed into technique. Technique represented sword technique. As long as one could fully comprehend a sword technique, one could form a powerful sword technique of his own. It would be even more difficult to present one's own sword technique. Even if one could completely transform the sword technique into one's own sword technique, it would still be difficult to present the sword technique. Unless one had completely mastered an advanced sword technique and comprehended it as one's own sword technique. In that case, one could condense mid-level sword technique into technique. There was only one possibility for Wang Xian to be able to condense an advanced sword technique into technique. He had mastered a pinnacle sword technique. Be it sword technique manuals or magic books, they were exceptionally precious on this continent. It was already insane for an expert to completely master a pinnacle magic book and transform it into his own magical technique. Most of them could only be achieved by experts above the 8th Order Universe Lord Realm. However, their Wang Xian, who was merely at the pinnacle of the Universe Lord Realm, could do it. This was too terrifying. Wang Xian heard the exclamations of the elders behind him, but he didn't understand what they meant. In particular, this was the first time he had heard of condensing technique into technique. Since he had mastered the Tianyuan sword art, it was a piece of cake for him to create his own advanced sword art. There was no pressure at all. In fact, if he were to painstakingly study it and spend millions of years, he could also create a top-notch sword art. After all, he only needed to use the basics of the Tianyuan sword technique. No wonder Big Brother Wang Xian is so insane. It's because he has mastered a top-notch sword technique. Demonic, demonic. Upon hearing the exclamations of the elders, Long Yinhao was also dumbfounded. Now, he finally understood why Wang Xian could kill an existence that was a level higher than him so easily. How much one knew about the law and what kind of law one had mastered would directly affect the combat power of the disciples of the sword and magic continent. Beside him, Long Yining was also looking at Wang Xian with sparkling eyes. His eyes were filled with admiration. Thank you, Lord Saint, for teaching me. The entire teaching process lasted for a full month. A month later, the group of space attribute experts and disciples thanked Wang Xian with reverence. They knew how terrifying it was to condense magic into skills. Hee Xiaochun. Wang Xian waved his hand nonchalantly before giving another pointer. Phew. A few days later, Wang Xian flew out of the venue of the saint's ceremony and heaved a sigh of relief. Wang Xian, you're amazing. You've actually mastered a top-notch sword art. No wonder your combat power is so strong. Long Yining stood beside him and said with admiration, I've only mastered 60% of the top-notch magic of our roaring dragon forbidden ground. Is that so? Wang Xian chuckled and looked at him. Over the past few months, he had also gained some understanding of condensing magic into skills. Don't you think? You're very insane. If I could master a top-notch magic secret manual at my current level, I should be able to fight 2 or 3 people above my level without using the forbidden curse. Long Yining said, You don't know, the strength and ability you've displayed over the past few months have even shocked the group of elders. You're too amazing. She opened her mouth and continued. Wang Xian smiled and didn't care much about it. The roaring dragon forbidden ground was just a transition. What he wanted to do now was to raise his strength to the pinnacle of the universe supremacy stage as soon as possible and control the Tower of the Moon, to establish the void dragon forbidden ground. When I return to the sacred moon this time, I'm prepared to cultivate properly and strive to enter the 9th level. Given Wang Xian's current strength, entering the 9th level wouldn't be a problem. However, he wasn't in a hurry. The 8th level had sufficient energy. He was prepared to cultivate to the extreme and reach the top level in one go to control the sacred moon. Yeah, I've just broken through and am preparing to reach the limit as soon as possible. Long Yining nodded and said, Brother Wang Xian, with your insane strength, you might be able to reach the top in the future. Long Yinhao interrupted from the side. It's not that easy. On the 9th level, I'll have to deal with 4 people with a higher level than me. On the 10th level, there might be 5, 6 on the 11th level, and 7 on the 12th level. It's difficult. Wang Xian said plainly. Naturally, he wouldn't say he was confident. Yinhao, you have to strive to reach the 8th level as soon as possible. Stop fooling around. Long Yining reminded Long Yinhao. I'm not fooling around, sister. I'm cultivating seriously. Long Yinhao replied speechlessly. As the 3 of them conversed, they returned to the sacred moon through the teleportation formation. Subsequently, they stepped into the moon pagoda. When they arrived at the 8th level of the moon pagoda, Wang Xian and Long Yining immediately sat cross-legged and began cultivating. Time passed quickly. Wang Xian was also accumulating rapidly. After 500,000 years, with the help of this powerful treasure land, he had accumulated energy to the pinnacle of the universe supremacy. Given his understanding of the power of space, he could totally make a breakthrough. However, Wang Xian didn't. He continued to suppress his realm and continued cultivating. Time flew. Another 2 million years passed. The power of space in Wang Xian's body had also accumulated more and more. He opened his eyes slowly and revealed a faint smile. It's about time to reach the top level, Wang Xian thought to himself. Looking around, he realized other saints and saintesses had arrived at the 8th level. Long Yinhao had also arrived successfully. Long Yining, Long Yinhao, I'm going to the 9th level. Wang Xian looked at them and said directly. Chapter 3962. On the 8th level of the Moon Pagoda, when Long Yinhao and Long Yinhao heard Wang Xian, they immediately opened their eyes in shock. Big brother Wang Xian, are you confident of making it to the 9th level? Long Yinhao asked Wang Xian with widened eyes. The other saints and saintesses around him also narrowed their eyes when they heard Wang Xian. They already knew Wang Xian very well. He had joined the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground and became a saint there. They all knew about his performance at the saint ceremony. All the saints and saintesses were shocked by his strength. In particular, the fact that he had 100% mastery of a top-notch sword technique was not kept a secret, and they knew about it. Now that they heard that he was going to the 9th level, the saints and saintesses didn't look too good. They were in a competitive relationship, but now there was someone from the same generation that made them feel despair and powerlessness. This made them feel a deep sense of defeat. Yes, Wang Xian nodded. I'll go up first. I'll wait for you guys at the 9th level. Yeah. Long Yinhao nodded at Wang Xian with admiration. Wang Xian's figure gradually disappeared, and he entered the test space. In the next second, 4 First-Order Universe Sovereigns, spatial swordsmen, appeared in front of Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled when he saw them. After 2 million years of accumulation, his strength had reached a terrifying level. Even Wu Sha and the rest back then couldn't compare to Wang Xian. After all, Wang Xian cultivated the Tianyuan sword technique. Against 4 First-Order Universe Sovereigns, Wang Xian could end the battle within 5 minutes. However, Wang Xian didn't end the battle quickly. Instead, he slowly fought with the 4 First-Order Universe Sovereigns. After 5 hours, he finally destroyed the 4 First-Order Universe Sovereigns. The scene changed, and he arrived at the 9th level. Big brother Wang Xian did it. He only used 5 hours. He's too strong. Long Yinhao exclaimed when he saw Wang Xian's success. The other saints and saintesses were also amazed when they saw it. He only used 5 hours to reach the 9th level. That was really terrifying. There aren't many treasures on the 9th level, and they aren't very valuable. Wang Xian came to the 9th floor, looked around, and revealed a smile. He put away the treasures and continued to challenge others. If he wanted to enter the 10th floor, he would have to face 5 First-Order Universe Sovereigns. This time, it only took him 7 minutes. When he arrived at the 10th floor, he looked around and put away the treasures on the 10th floor. However, the moment Wang Xian stepped onto the 10th level, he was at the top of the Moon Pagoda. The 12th floor of the Moon Tower was completely different from the other 11 floors. There was only one magic stone here. Above the magic stone was an object that looked like a bathtub. An illusory figure was floating in the bathtub. The illusory figure emitted a powerful soul force. However, this illusory figure only had the appearance of an infant. The moment Wang Xian entered the 10th level, he opened his eyes. It was an infant's face, and its eyes were filled with endless coldness and wisdom. These weren't the eyes of an infant. Someone has actually entered the 10th floor. How many years has it been? Ha ha ha, I've been waiting for this day. Those who can enter the 10th floor are definitely extremely powerful geniuses. If I'm not mistaken, they should be the holy sons and holy maidens of other holy lands. An old and agitated voice came from the illusory infant's mouth. He looked down slowly, as though he could see through the space and see everything on the 10th level. Not bad, not bad. They should be the saints of a major force. What a perfect body. Ha ha ha, what a perfect body. The infant roared excitedly and slowly raised his palm. However, at this moment, he was slightly taken aback when he saw the figure below slowly turning illusory. You still want to continue? Are you confident? Great. The infant's eyes were filled with excitement. He kept his arm and watched quietly. However, when Wang Xian was about to challenge again, he squinted his eyes. He didn't stop, and his figure disappeared instantly. In that instant, he sensed someone spying on him. If Wang Xian's real body wasn't in his body, he wouldn't have sensed it. Interesting. There are living beings in this moon pagoda. Wang Xian thought to himself. In front of him, 6 First-Order Universe Sovereigns appeared. Wang Xian moved and immediately began his attack. Wang Xian could still deal with 6 First-Order Universe Sovereigns easily. Now, his strength was enough to deal with a space swordsman at the Second-Order Universe Sovereign realm. The battle was over in 10 minutes. What? What kind of strength is this? What a terrifying ability to fight beyond his level. What sword technique is this? At the 12th level of the Moon Pagoda, the infant saw Wang Xian's battle, and his body trembled with excitement. His eyes were filled with craziness. Disbelief was written all over his face. I, the Nihility Tao, have waited for God knows how many years. To think that I would get such a precious gem and such a talented body. Ha ha ha, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. An agitated voice came from his mouth, and his eyes started to turn red. Given his strength, he can come to the top level directly. In that case, I'll wait for him here. I'll wait for this little cutie. The infant continued. His mouth cracked open, and his face was filled with a creepy smile. He muttered crazily, Come, 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 my baby. Wang Xian entered the 11th level, and there was no change in his expression. He looked around and kept the treasures. His eyes flickered, and he sat cross-legged on the magic stone, continuing his challenge. Wang. Soon, he arrived at the illusory space again and faced 7 First-Order Universe Sovereigns. The battle broke out instantly. This time, Wang Xian took only 10 minutes to finish him off easily. In the next second, he arrived at the 12th level. The moment he appeared, he sensed a creepy infant staring at him from the side. Ha ha ha, great, great. You're just a universe supremacy, and you already have the strength of a second-order universe sovereign. Moreover, it's of the spatial attribute. You must have mastered a top-notch spatial sword technique, and you must have obtained the sword bowl of a space swordsman expert. Ha ha ha. Little brat, welcome to my embrace. The infant laughed maniacally. Chapter 3963. The sudden strange sound did not make Wang Xian feel the slightest bit excited. He sized up the illusory spirit body with a curious look in his eyes. The spirit body of the infant was extremely excited. His expression was hideous. He opened up his arms slowly and stared at Wang Xian greedily. The energy contained in his body was not weak. It was enough to kill a 5th-order universe sovereign expert. Huh. The infant stared at Wang Xian. Seeing that Wang Xian did not react to him, he was taken aback. The smile on his face gradually disappeared. You used to be an expert of the Moon of Void? Wang Xian stared at him and asked calmly. Hee, that's right. I'm the master of the Moon of Void. I've never expected anyone to ascend to the 12th level of the Moon Pagoda. I thought anyone who could ascend to the 10th level would still be a powerful saint. You've really exceeded my expectations. The infant sized up Wang Xian again and sensed the energy in his body. After confirming it, he laughed eerily again. As long as I can occupy your body, I'll be able to obtain all your memories and absorb you completely. I'll be able to return to my peak. With your powerful talents, I might be able to advance to the next level. His eyes were once again filled with greed as he spoke. You're so arrogant with just a spirit body? Wang Xian looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Following which, he chuckled. That's right. According to the rules you set, those who can enter the Moon of Saint are not even in the sovereign realm. Huh. The infant frowned slightly when he saw Wang Xian's calm and unworried face. What's going on? Why is this young man so calm? His eyes turned cold as a majestic force gushed out from his body and pressed down on Wang Xian. Wang Xian felt the force and his body transformed. Heh, seems like you've revived yourself with some powerful treasure. Maintaining this form, you can even carry out a perfect possession in your new form. It's a pity that you've met me. Wang Xian chuckled. He waved his arm and turned it into a dragon claw that grabbed the infant. What? When he saw that Wang Xian was not affected at all and the terrifying dragon claw was about to grab him, he was shocked. How is this possible? Your strength. How did your strength? The baby's face was filled with horror. He stared at Wang Xian in disbelief and screamed shrilly. You deserve to die. Wang Xian stared at him coldly as a stream of energy surged into his body. Soul capturer. No, just what kind of existence are you? How can you enter the sacred moon? No, no. The baby screamed in despair, but soon there was no more sound. At the same time, some information appeared in Wang Xian's mind. These were the memories of the path of nothingness. The Void Dao was the master of the forbidden land of the Void Moon. Because he had gotten into an internal conflict with a Grand Elder, in the end, he had used a forbidden spell to destroy his enemy, as well as himself. However, he had a special resurrection treasure. This special resurrection treasure could allow him to return to his soul state, so that he could once again try to take over the body. The Tao of Emptiness did not immediately attempt to possess him. Instead, he made a plan and then fell into a deep slumber. It was only when he reached the 10th floor that he was startled awake. His goal was to possess the bodies of saints and saintesses with powerful talents. However, he would never have expected Wang Xian to enter the sacred moon. In the entire sword and sorcery universe, only a few terrifying existences were stronger than Wang Xian. After absorbing the memories of the Tao of Emptiness, Wang Xian had a complete understanding of the Forbidden Land, the Moon of Void, and the entire Sacred Moon. He looked at the Sorcerer's Stone under the bathtub and revealed a smile. With a wave of his arm, this special bathtub treasure was moved to the side. With a wave of his arm, a stream of energy was injected into it. Wang. In the next second, a diamond-shaped Sorcerer's Stone flew out slowly. This Sorcerer's Stone had 10 sides, and each side contained a different attribute. This was the Sacred Moonstone that controlled the Sacred Moon. The entire Sacred Moon was a natural treasure land. This Sacred Moonstone was the key. After the death of the Tao of Emptiness, the imprint inside had disappeared. Wang Xian inserted his imprint into it. In an instant, he had complete control over the Sacred Moon. He could clearly sense all the living beings in the Sacred Moon. This included the group of experts from the Dragon Palace who were still cultivating in the convention repository. His mind shook. Wang. In an instant, all the disciples of the Dragon Palace appeared in front of him. Huh. Greetings, Dragon King. Roving Sword and the rest reacted immediately. Sensing the surrounding energy, they looked at Wang Xian and greeted him immediately. Hee, this place is under my complete control. From now on, this will be the base of the Dragon Palace in this universe. From now on, all of you will call yourselves disciples of the Void Dragon Forbidden Land. Wang Xian instructed them. Yes, Dragon King. Roving Sword and the rest answered immediately. All right, from now on, my real body will be guarding this place. My Void Divine Dragon body will leave this place to cultivate alone. Wang Xian nodded his head. With a thought, he separated himself from the Void Divine Dragon body. Wang. In the next second, the Sacred Moon Stone in his hand floated around him and shone brightly. Following which, Wang Xian's Void Divine Dragon body was transported out. At the same time, the entire Sacred Moon shone with endless brilliance. Within the Sacred Moon, all the disciples in the Moon Pagoda felt a strong repulsive force. In an instant, they felt the surrounding scenery change, and they were instantly teleported to the outside. Huh. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why are we being transported out all of a sudden? All the supreme talents, saints and saintesses, spoke with shock as they looked at the Sacred Moon in front of them. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, the experts from the Sacred College, the Sacred Grounds, flew past Ali quickly. They were also looking at the radiant Sacred Moon in shock. They were bewildered. There's a change in the Sacred Moon, and all the disciples are being transported out? What's going on? An expert couldn't help but ask. But no one could answer his question. Wang Xian's Void Divine Dragon body also appeared outside. He looked at Long Yining, Long Yinhao, and the rest and flew over. Wang Xian, you were also transported out? Long Yining saw Wang Xian and asked. Wang Xian nodded his head. Looking at the radiant Sacred Moon in front of him, his lips curved. Chapter 3964. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire Sacred Moon shone brightly. In the surroundings, the experts from the Sacred Grounds and Sacred Institute watched in bewilderment. Their expressions were constantly changing. They had planned for the Sacred Moon of the Lunar Void Forbidden Area for millions of years. Who would have thought that an accident would happen today? Wang. At this moment, a wave of energy swept out from the Sacred Moon. Swish, 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 swish. At the entrance of the Sacred Moon, figures appeared one by one. 10 mystic dragons flew out, and their auras surged in all directions. Huh, they are? When the experts from the Holy Lands and Forbidden Lands saw a figure flying out from the Holy Moon, their expressions changed slightly when they sensed the location of the figure. From today onwards, the Sacred Moon Forbidden Area will belong to us. From today onwards, the Void Dragon's sacred ground will be established. Everyone, please return. One of the mystic dragons announced faintly. Huh? What? The Sacred Moon is occupied by them? This? Who are these people from the Forbidden Area? How did they occupy the Sacred Moon? Damn it! How did they enter the Sacred Moon? How did they occupy the Sacred Moon? 10 Seventh Order Universe Sovereigns, and this isn't even their leader. It seems like their leader is at least an 8th Order Universe sovereign. They aren't weak, but this is the first time I've heard of the Void Dragon's sacred ground. When the experts from the sacred grounds heard this, their expressions changed. The sacred moon was actually occupied by another force. They looked at the 10 succubus dragon species, and their expressions did not look good. Wong Wong. However, the 10 mystic dragons did not say anything. They waved their arms, and a wave of energy swept out. This wave of energy did not cause any harm, but it forced everyone to retreat. All the experts saw this and their faces turned ugly. However, they did not resist. A new forbidden area had suddenly occupied the sacred moon. Moreover, 10 Seventh Order Universe sovereigns had flown out. Under such circumstances, they did not dare to offend them. The experts of the Holy Lands and Forbidden Lands retreated with helpless looks on their faces. Sigh, where did this forbidden void dragon ground come from? If it weren't for them, you would definitely be able to reach the top of the moon pagoda and control the sacred moon. It's all their fault. Long Yining looked over and spoke to Wang Xian with a face full of regret. Yeah, Big Brother Wang Xian has just stepped onto level 9 and is not far from level 12. Such a great opportunity is gone just like that. Long Yinhao also spoke with a face full of helplessness. What a huge loss. Upon hearing the regretful words of the two, Wang Xian played along and frowned slightly. This is also fate. Many experts from the sacred grounds have been eyeing this sacred moon. Unexpectedly, a powerful force emerged out of nowhere and occupied it. This can't be attributed to Saint Wang Xian's bad luck. Perhaps this force has been planning this for a long time. A deacon from the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground said helplessly, "If I can cultivate for tens of millions of years in there, it will also be a great opportunity." Wang Xian looked at them, shook his head, and cooperated with them. Hee, Wang Xian, you don't have to worry about your cultivation resources. You won't lack them. Long Yining comforted him. Wang Xian nodded. He still had the resources given to him by the elders and deacons in the Roaring Dragon base that he had yet to absorb. Absorbing these resources would be sufficient for him to improve significantly. In addition, there was no longer a need for him to continue staying at the pinnacle of the universe venerable realm. He could break through directly. Let's go. We have reported this matter to the elders. They have asked us to return immediately and not offend the Void Dragon sacred ground. A deacon said. The group of people nodded their heads and left. Although the remaining experts from the sacred grounds were unwilling, they had no choice but to leave immediately. On the top floor of the moon pagoda, Wang Xian looked at everything outside with a smile. The body of the Void Divine Dragon was cultivating in the Roaring Dragon base while he was overseeing this place. Multitasking was too easy for experts like them. However, Wang Xian did not intend to leave. Roving sword, tidy up the sacred moon. After that, you guys will cultivate here. After absorbing the energy here, go out and train. Wang Xian instructed Roving sword and the rest. The energy in every treasure land was limited. For example, the energy contained here would be exhausted after a large amount of absorption. After the absorption, this treasure land would automatically recover. However, this recovery would require some time. A fixed amount of energy could only be recovered every day. The fixed amount of energy that was recovered was not enough for a large number of experts to cultivate. At most, it could only be absorbed by a few first or second order universe sovereigns. However, this moon pagoda had accumulated quite a lot of energy. Mainly, although there were many disciples absorbing energy here over the past millions of years, these disciples were all below the universe venerable realm. But these disciples were all below the universe supremacy level. To the energy here, the energy that was produced every day was enough for them to absorb. Yes, Dragon King. Roving sword nodded. Subsequently, the tens of thousands of dragon guards came to the 11th floor and started cultivating. Black Dragon, go outside and search for all the information about the sword and magic universe, all the forbidden grounds and sacred institute. Also, look for information about some treasure lands. Wang Xian said to the 10 black dragon species. The 10 black dragon species nodded and flew out immediately. Yes, Dragon King. The 10 black dragon species answered immediately. Wang Xian came to the top of the 12th floor and sat there. He did not absorb the energy here. If he absorbed with all his might, it wouldn't take long for him to finish absorbing. However, even if he absorbed all the energy here, it would still be difficult for him to achieve a breakthrough. Let's see if I can get some secret information about this universe from the roaring dragon forbidden ground. Wang Xian thought to himself and calmed his mind. At the same time, Wang Xian, who was in the body of a void divine dragon, and a group of experts from the roaring dragon forbidden ground came to the roaring dragon forbidden ground. Wang Xian, our roaring dragon forbidden ground doesn't have any space attribute treasure lands. What's your next plan? Long Yining looked at Wang Xian and asked when they came to the roaring dragon forbidden ground. I'm going to absorb all the resources first before looking at it, said Wang Xian. He then looked at her and asked, Long Yining, if you want to train, are there any places? It would be best if it's suitable for universe sovereigns. Training? Yes, there are. The Cosmos Ruins and the Devil Beast Abyss are good training grounds for Cosmos Ruler Realm experts. However, those places are dangerous. Long Yining answered. Chapter 3965 Universe Ruins, Devil Beast Abyss? Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He knew about these two. After absorbing the memories of the Lord of the Moon Void Forbidden Land, he learned a lot of information. The Forbidden Land of the Void Moon was destroyed billions of years ago. However, the Universe Ruins and the Abyss of Magical Beasts had always existed in the Sword and Magic universe. The Universe Ruins was an ancient battlefield of the Sword and Magic universe. The ancient battlefield still contained boundless power. Based on Wang Xian's conjecture, that should be the Cataclysm battlefield of this universe. The special corpses and treasures obtained from the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land should have been obtained from there. Wang Xian also knew about the Abyss of Magical Beasts. That was a place where magical beasts lived. The demonic beasts were somewhat similar to the giant star beasts, but they were much smaller in size and strength. However, the Magical Beast Abyss had a large number of ruler-rank magical beasts. They had no intelligence and mainly hunted. Long Yining, do you know the ranking of the Holy Lands and Forbidden Grounds on the continent? Wang Xian continued asking. About this, don't you know? There's a ranking of Forbidden Lands and Holy Lands on the continent. The first place is the Silence Forbidden Land, whose founder is in existence above the Sovereign Realm. The second place is the Flowing Water Holy Land, whose founder is also in existence above the Sovereign Realm. The third place is the Space Forbidden Land, whose founder is Old Man Time. He's known as an invincible sovereign. These are the top 3. There's another ranking all the way up to the top 20. Wang Xian, I'll get you a communication device later. That communication device was created by the omniscient Forbidden Land, and it's also the most used one. On it, there is a ranking of all the Holy Lands and Forbidden Grounds, as well as other information. Long Yining said to Wang Xian. Yes. Do we only have 2 ruler realm existences on this continent? Wang Xian asked. I think so. I've never heard of a third one. Long Yining nodded his head, a look of reverence on his face. I've heard that during the last cataclysm, these 2 lords led our continent's experts to defend against foreign invaders. I heard that there was a terrible war that broke out and eventually became the ruins of the universe today. That war destroyed heaven and earth. Even the legendary water forbidden spell book of our continent was destroyed. Upon hearing her words, Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. The book of forbidden water spells? Could it be that Lord Water Divine Dragon had also participated in the battle? Wang Xian thought to himself as his eyes sparkled. Oh, what are you going to do next? He looked at Long Yining and asked. As for me, I will continue to cultivate and strive to reach the pinnacle of the Universe Supremacy Realm. Only by reaching the pinnacle of the Universe Supremacy Realm will I be able to travel and train. I will also be able to enter the Universe Ruins and the Devil Beast Abyss to take a look. Long Yining spoke. Oh, do I have to reach the peak of the Universe Supremacy Realm? Wang Xian looked at her curiously. That's right, you have to step into the pinnacle of the Universe Supremacy Realm. Moreover, reaching the Universe Lord Realm from the Universe Supremacy Realm is the biggest shackle for all cultivators. This realm is extremely hard to break through. Even saints and saintesses would be stuck at this shackle for tens of millions of years. Long Yining continued, therefore, under normal circumstances, once you reach the pinnacle of the venerable realm, you can go out to train and break through as soon as possible. If you're lucky, you can break through in a few million years. I see. Wang Xian nodded. In that case, why don't you go into seclusion and cultivate now? We can go out together then. Yeah, that's great. Long Yining replied happily. However, will this delay your cultivation? I need at least tens of millions of years to reach the pinnacle of the venerable realm. It's fine. Wang Xian shook his head. I also want to hone my sword techniques. I can cultivate for tens of millions of years first. Yeah, then I'll definitely reach the pinnacle of the venerable realm as soon as possible. When the time comes, I'll go out to train with you. Long Yining grinned and was unusually happy. Wang Xian chuckled. All right, hurry up and cultivate. I'm going to cultivate too. Yeah. Long Yining waved at him. Wang Xian moved and flew towards his residence in the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land. At the sky peak of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, he had a very luxurious residence. Inside, there was a magical array that gathered spatial energy. However, the energy here was much lesser than in the Moon Pagoda. However, Wang Xian did not intend to cultivate in the Sacred Moon. The resources he had were enough for him to cultivate for tens of millions of years. One had to know that the spatial attribute items given to him by the group of elders were all level 5 or 6 Universe Lord Realm elixir pills and spiritual fruits. These weren't cheap. They could allow him to cultivate to the level 3 or 4 Universe Lord Realm. Wang Xian sat cross-legged in the cultivation room and started cultivating immediately. Wang, with a jolt of his body, a surge of spatial energy surged towards the surroundings. He easily broke through to the First Order Universe Lord Realm. Subsequently, he took out the spatial attribute resources and treasures and started absorbing them. 2 million years passed. Wang Xian's cultivation rose to the Second Order Universe Lord Realm. He moved and arrived at the second level of the Sky Peak. The Sky Peak of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land was divided into many levels. As long as one reached the Sovereign Realm, he could have a residence on the Sky Peak. The higher the level, the denser the water attribute energy. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Land mainly focused on the cultivation of the water attribute. Although Wang Xian's residence was on a higher level, he had the spatial attribute. The dense water attribute didn't have much of an effect on him. Reaching the Second Order Sovereign Realm in 2 million years was way too slow for Wang Xian, given the ample resources he had. But to other experts, it was absolutely terrifying. Long Yining would need tens of millions of years to reach the pinnacle of the Universe Lord Realm from his 8th Order Venerable Realm cultivation with unlimited resources. Furthermore, he had the talent of a saintess. One could imagine how difficult it was to cultivate. A special existence like Wang Xian was just like an 8th or 9th Order Universe Lord expert who died and resurrected, using resources to cultivate again. Terrifying speed. The second level of the Sky Peak was a training ground. In the second floor, one could exchange pointers and train themselves. Perhaps it was a unique feature of this universe, but the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land had the same training methods like the Moon Pagoda. The illusory figures formed by the formation could be adjusted to a higher level before battling against each other. Today, Wang Xian was going to practice. Wang Xian felt a little strained when he cultivated the Heavenly Origin Sword technique to the Universe Lord Realm. One had to know that his actual combat strength had reached an extremely terrifying level, but it was still a little strenuous to cultivate. One could imagine the difficulty of this Heavenly Origin Sword technique. A sword technique that could be cultivated to the Heavenly Origin Creation Realm was not that simple. Chapter 3966. Swish, swish, swish. Wang Xian was on the second level of the Sky Peak. Around him, there were 4 Fourth Order Universe Ruler Realm Water Element Mages. Wang Xian was still fighting back with ease under the siege of the 4 Water Attribute Magicians. One had to know that Wang Xian was only a Second Order Universe Lord. But the attribute of space being king, coupled with the Tianyuan sword technique, made his combat power extremely terrifying. He could easily kill a space cultivator who was 1 level higher than him. Facing cultivators of other attributes that were 2 levels higher than him, he could also easily kill them. 4 was Wang Xian's current limit. This was already very terrifying. Wang Xian's battle experience had also increased tremendously as he battled with them continuously. His training in the Tianyuan sword technique had also deepened. In the past, Wang Xian had been able to cultivate the Tianyuan swordsmanship with ease by relying on his powerful physical strength, strong comprehension, and strong senses. But now, whether it was the breakthrough of the space attribute or the cultivation of the Tianyuan sword technique, they were all dozens of times slower. Wang Xian might need hundreds of millions or even billions of years to raise his strength to the Ninth Order Universe Lord, or even the pinnacle. This was already considered cheating in his cultivation. Take your time to cultivate. There are still billions of years before the cataclysm. Wang Xian murmured. He was not in a hurry. He still had time. So did the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian continued to practice his sword technique and cultivated for a few years on the 2nd level of the Sky Peak. Then, he returned to his residence and continued to improve. Time passed day by day again. Big brother Wang Xian, someone is here to challenge us. After more than 1,000,000 years, Long Yinhao's voice suddenly sounded. He was slightly taken aback and had a shocked look on his face. In a flash, he teleported to the doorway. At the door, Long Yining stood there in a sorry state. There were some bloodstains on his body, and his aura was slightly weak. When Wang Xian saw him, he was astonished. "Yinhao, what happened to you? Why are you hurt?" he asked in astonishment. "Big brother, let's go. Help me teach those arrogant guys a lesson. Damn it. How dare they say there's no one in our roaring dragon forbidden ground. Beat them up, beat them up." Long Yinhao quickly grabbed Wang Xian's arm and said, "What happened?" Wang Xian asked him. "Big brother, let's talk as we fly." As Long Yinhao spoke, he led Wang Xian down and continued, "There's a bunch of arrogant guys who came here to challenge us. I have no choice as I can't defeat them. My sister seems to have made her move, but the opponents are all very strong. Unless we use the forbidden curse art, but the consumption of the forbidden curse art is too great. It's not worth it." "Who are they?" Wang Xian looked at Long Yinhao and asked curiously. "It's the sons and daughters of the sons and daughters of the sons of the sons and daughters of the sons 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 of the sons," Long Yinhao said with a black face. Upon hearing his words, Wang Xian understood a little. It was a spar between the saint and the saintess. Under normal circumstances, the various holy lands and forbidden lands would not interfere in a spar. This kind of sparring was extremely beneficial to both sides. Thus, they tacitly agreed that unless they were defeated, they would not reject such a spar. Also, the ominous forbidden land even added a saint and saintess ranking in the communication device. Damn it, it's going to be interesting. But I'm one of the younger ones among the saints and saintess. Many of them are much older than me. Damn it, I can't keep my chastity. Long Yinhao continued, most importantly, the various forbidden lands and sacred colleges have decided that when the saints and saintess challenge a forbidden land and saintess, the forbidden land and sacred college will give them some rewards in the form of resources. Of course, this reward is limited to the top 200 forbidden lands and sacred colleges. Moreover, after a forbidden land and sacred college lose 20 times, they can no longer be challenged. He continued to add, "There's such a thing?" Wang Xian revealed a surprised look. "Yes, our continent is now preparing for the upcoming cataclysm. I heard that the powerful forbidden lands and sacred lands will issue a ban on fighting. In other words, wars between forbidden lands and sacred lands are prohibited. In addition, there will be some competitions. The saint and saintess ranking is one of them to test the waters." "Of course, I heard all this from my father." Long Yinhao spoke with fervor and assurance. As the two conversed, they quickly arrived at the empty space below. At this moment, Long Yining was battling with a girl. That girl also had the strength of a rank 9 universe realm. However, she was a wind attribute sorcerer. The two were exchanging blows from a distance, as wind and water energy wreaked havoc. But from the looks of it, Long Yining was clearly at a disadvantage. "Oh no, I'm afraid my sister is no match for that saintess of the Nine Winds Sacred College. Long Yinhao looked over and said. Wang Xian looked over and nodded his head slightly. That Wind Attribute girl was clearly stronger than Long Yining in terms of strength. Be it in terms of energy transfer or condensed attacks, she was much more adept than Long Yining. In the sword and magic universe, years were also counted. But a billion years was also known as a generation. A generation in a billion years. Every sacred son of the Sacred Academy in a forbidden land had to be born in this generation. Otherwise, they would not be qualified to become a saint or saintess. He looked to the side. Other than the girl fighting Long Yining, there were also over 20 saints and saintesses. These 20 saints and saintesses had varying strengths. The strongest had already reached the second-order universe realm. As for the forbidden lands of the sword and magic continent, Wang Xian had some understanding. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Lands could be ranked in the top 100 in the continent. Of course, it was only in the 90s. This Nine Winds Sacred College could be ranked in the top 50. Its overall strength was much stronger than the Dragon Roar Forbidden Lands. Wang Xian and Long Yinhao landed at the side. In the surrounding area, there were many elders and deacons of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Lands, as well as a large number of disciples watching. They were all cheering for Long Yining. But at this moment, the group of elders and deacons frowned slightly, and their expressions did not look too good. She's going to lose, Wang Xian said after watching for half an hour. Boom. In the next second, streams of wind energy surged towards Long Yining. Puff. Long Yining could not resist and was hit directly, spitting out blood. An elder immediately waved his arm, and a healing technique entered her body. Chapter 3967. Yining Lost. The saintess from the Nine Winds Sacred Institute is indeed extraordinary. The seventh elder of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground looked at the saintess and said plainly, Sister Long Yining is also extraordinary. I just took advantage of my age. The saintess from the Nine Wind Sacred Institute cupped her hands and replied politely, Haha, the saints and saintesses are indeed impressive. However, my sister and I are weaker than my big brother in the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground. You should all know that our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground has 2 sons. I am the little brother of my big brother, Ning Xingchen. I lost to you just now, but that doesn't mean that our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground will give up to your King Ning Holy Land for nothing. My big brother will take action next and easily suppress you. Long Yinhao suddenly laughed loudly and pointed at them. Hee, we've heard about this. The real saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground is Wang Xian. Is this him? Ning Xingchen said plainly when he heard Long Yinhao's words. His eyes fell on Wang Xian. The rest of the saints and saintesses fixed their eyes on Wang Xian. To be able to step into the 9th level of the Moon Pagoda, Wang Xian, the saint, has some fame in the continent. Tell us your strength and let's have a spar. The saint beside Ning Xingchen said plainly. Want to fight? Wang Xian looked at Long Yinhao. Of course. Otherwise, we'll have to give them resources. But if you win, they'll have to give it to us. Long Yinhao nodded hurriedly. All right. Wang Xian nodded and cupped his hands at them. Wang Xian, Second-Order Universe Lord, Space Swordsman. As he spoke, the power of space shot up to the sky. Fuck. Big brother. You have already broken through to the Second-Order Universe Sovereign Realm? Long Yinhao heard Wang Xian and felt the aura he exuded. His expression changed drastically. No way, big brother. You're so insane. It's only been a few million years, right? Huh. Wang Xian. Long Yining felt the aura from Wang Xian. His expression changed slightly, and he flew to his side immediately. Yes. When I was in the Moon Pagoda, I could break through at any time, but I've been suppressing my strength, said Wang Xian with a smile. What a freak. Ha. A second-order universe sovereign with the space attribute. Even amongst the holy sons and holy daughters, he's one of the best. He's at least in the top 10. Long Yinhao laughed heartily, his face full of insolence. It was as if he himself possessed such a realm. What? What a fast cultivation speed. Saint Wang Xian, you're awesome. When the 7th elder and some of the attendants saw this, They moved and appeared behind Wang Xian instantly. Their eyes were beaming with excitement. Seventh Elder. Wang Xian smiled and cupped his hands at the seventh elder. Haha, good. The seventh elder patted on Wang Xian's shoulder happily. He was filled with satisfaction. Saint Wang Xian is invincible. Congratulations, Holy Son Wang Xian, for suppressing your peers. Haha, our roaring dragon forbidden ground has Saint Wang Xian. Among the saints, he will definitely be in the top 10. This time, our roaring dragon forbidden ground will be famous. The surrounding disciples of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land were all excited as they roared one by one. What? He has reached the Second Order Universe Sovereign Realm? At the front, the group of saints and saintesses felt Wang Xian's aura and their expressions changed slightly. According to the news they received, the new saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land was only at the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. However, in just a few million years, he had already broken through to the Second Order Universe Sovereign Realm. The speed of his breakthrough was too horrifying. The expressions of the 20-odd saints and saintesses changed. Finally, they settled on a young saint sitting in the middle. The saint of the Donghua Sacred Land, Earth Element, Second Order Universe Sovereign Realm, and a sorcerer. The Donghua Sacred Land was ranked 51st among the Forbidden Grounds. However, the Donghua Sacred Land had a powerful saint this time. Brother Wang Xian, let's have a spar. The eyes of the saint of the Donghua Sacred Land flickered as he spoke to Wang Xian. An earth element sorcerer, you're no match for me. Wang Xian shook his head at the saint of the Donghua Sacred Land and said directly, how would you know without a spar? Although space is king, it won't be that easy to defeat me. Upon hearing Wang Xian, the Donghua Sacred Land's expression turned cold as he spoke. Wang Xian shook his head and moved his palm. Wang. In an instant, 90 sharp swords attacked the Donghua Sacred Land's saint. TSK, don't underestimate anyone in the world. The Donghua Sacred Land's saint saw Wang Xian standing there motionlessly and attacking him. With a cold look in his eyes, he moved and flew towards the center of the field. With a flick of his palm, a magic staff appeared in his hand. At the same time, a yellow wall filled with runes stood up and spun around him. Bam, bam, bam. However, when his wall was erected, the 90 sharp swords disappeared instantly. In the next second, they bombarded the wall directly. The entire earthen yellow rune wall rapidly crumbled. The 90 sharp swords came to him and aimed at him, floating there motionlessly. How is this possible? When the Donghua Sacred Land's saint saw his defense collapsing instantly and the 90 space swords floating around him, he was extremely embarrassed. His body trembled and felt a little powerless. Space is king. Although you're a saint, am I a weakling? Wang Xian smiled faintly. They were both saints. Under the circumstances where space was king, what could he use to fight? When he used all his trump cards, he might have a chance to block Wang Xian's attack. However, the prerequisite was that Wang Xian did not use the Tianyuan sword technique or powerful treasures. I've lost. Given your strength, Saint Wang Xian, you'll be able to get a very high ranking in the ranking of saints this time. Although the Donghua Sacred Land's saint was unwilling, he still cupped his fists and admitted defeat. You're flattering me. Wang Xian cupped his fists in response. SSS. This Saint Wang Xian of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground is really terrifying. Donghua Sacred Land's saint doesn't even stand a chance against him. The gap is too big. The gap is really too big. Saint Wang Xian is probably going to shine in this ranking of saints. Rumor has it that he obtained the inheritance of a top-notch space attribute expert. From the looks of it, this is the only possibility. At the side, the group of saints and saintesses looked at Wang Xian in shock. Such strength was enough to rank in the top among the saints. Next, he would probably make a name for himself across the entire continent. Saint Wang Xian is mighty. Saint Wang Xian is invincible. Around them, the disciples of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground shouted at Wang Xian with admiration. Chapter 3968. Congratulations, Wang Xian. You're awesome. Long Yining looked at Wang Xian with eyes full of admiration. Big brother is awesome. Big brother is invincible. Long Yinhao also cheered. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Speaking of which, Wang Xian also felt that he was not bad. This body of his had to start cultivating from scratch. There were no cheats. His biggest background was his original body. But other saints and saintesses also had their own backgrounds, didn't they? He could do it. Saints and saintesses, I'm sorry. Our saint, Wang Xian, has won. The seventh elder said with a smile. He glanced at Wang Xian from time to time with shock in his eyes. This kid is extraordinary. Our small dragon roar forbidden ground can't nurture such a monster. At this moment, at the top of Sky Peak, the master of the dragon roar forbidden ground, as well as a group of elders, stood there and looked down. In the middle of them, an old man with a walking stick said with slight surprise. The surrounding elders were shocked when they heard the old man's words. Master, this Wang Xian has a noble vibe regardless of whether it's his heart or the aura he exudes. That's a strength that comes from his heart. I've only seen such an aura from the leaders of those powerful forbidden grounds and sacred grounds. Now, I'm starting to suspect if he's a reincarnated expert from the past. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground Master sighed. Yes, I have the same suspicion, but I can confirm that he's not an expert that has recultivated. The old fate wheel of an expert cannot be changed. The aura he exudes is full of youth and vitality. It's a pity that such an existence can only stay in our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground until the cataclysm comes. The old man sighed. He must have a big secret on him, or he has inherited all the legacies of a powerful space expert. He carries the will of that expert. But the top space experts in our universe are all in the space forbidden ground. As the old man spoke, he shook his head in confusion. Also, his sword technique is very different from the sword technique of the space forbidden ground. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground Master added. Is this Saint Wang Xian that powerful? At the side, the group of elders exclaimed in astonishment. Let's pay more attention to him. He's leaving our roaring dragon forbidden land after the cataclysm. There must be some special circumstances. No matter what, we should make friends with him during this period. If I'm not wrong, his current combat strength is enough to kill a fourth-order sovereign realm expert of our roaring dragon forbidden land. In addition, when he first came to our roaring dragon forbidden land, he was only a peak universe venerable. The speed at which he improved is too fast, and his talent is too heaven-defying. Even the top 3 saints and saintesses in our universe are no better than him. In fact, I'm more optimistic about him when it comes to fighting above his level, the old man continued. It's the old ancestor. The group of elders immediately responded. This elder was the founder of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, the strongest expert of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land. After saying that, the old man waved his hand and disappeared. Master of the Forbidden Land, let me take care of Wang Xian. The third elder said to the master of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land. Isn't the little girl on good terms with him? Doesn't she admire him? Let's see if they can improve further. The master of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land suddenly said, after which he waved his arm and handed him a space ring. Me too. The third elder smiled and took it. With a swift move, he flew down immediately. Haha, Xiaoxian, you're really strong. This time, you've brought glory to our roaring dragon forbidden land and raised our prestige. These resources are your reward. The third elder came to Wang Xian and said with a smile. He handed a space ring to Wang Xian. Thank you, third elder. Wang Xian was slightly stunned, but he did not reject it and accepted it. Haha, you're the saint of our roaring dragon forbidden land. This is what you deserve. The third elder laughed and looked at Long Yining. Yining, your combat strength has regressed a little. When you're free, you can spar with your brother Xiaoxian and get him to impart some combat techniques and cultivation insights. After all, exchanges between you geniuses are more useful than our teachings. Yeah, I know, Grandpa. Long Yining was slightly stunned. After which, she nodded and could not help but add, but Grandpa, I haven't regressed, have I? In cultivation, no improvement is regression. Don't you understand this principle? the third elder said with a slightly serious tone. Oh. Long Yining lowered her head, feeling slightly wronged. Her combat strength had not regressed. At the very least, she was much stronger than her younger brother. Why was she only talking about herself? Next, let me give Long Yining some pointers. Wang Xian looked at Long Yining and said. After sensing the resources in the space ring, he was really surprised. It was normal for him to give Long Yining some pointers. After all, they were from the same force. Haha, good. Hurry up and thank your brother Xiao Xian. Although I don't know Xiao Xian's age, she's the strongest. You and Yinhao can call her big brother. This way, we can rank the saints and saintesses in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land. The third elder said. Okay, Grandpa. Long Yining had some doubts, but she did not ask too much. Hee, big brother, you have to teach me too. At the side, Long Yinhao grabbed Wang Xian's arm and said with anticipation, when you break through to the rank 8 universe venerable realm, I'll teach you. What's the use now? Why don't you go back and cultivate in seclusion? When I was your age, I was already a rank 8 universe venerable realm. The third elder berated Long Yinhao. You're covered in blood today. Do you want to keep getting beaten up? As he spoke, he lifted the back of Long Yinhao's collar. Ah, Grandpa, you didn't reach the rank 8 universe venerable realm at my age, right? Long Yining shouted. However, in the next second, he was taken away by the third elder. This old thing, he's really quick-witted. At the top of the sky peak, the group of elders could not help but laugh when they saw the third elder's actions. Yinhao is too mischievous. He should be grounded, Long Yining said with a smile as he saw his grandfather leaving with his younger brother. Wang Xian smiled and looked at Long Yining. Let's go to the second level. I'll teach you. Okay. Long Yining nodded happily. Both of them moved and flew towards the second level of the sky peak. Chapter 3969. Teaching and Cultivation. Wang Xian was still capable of doing so. The cultivation methods of the 9 Essences universe and the Sword and Magic universe were somewhat different. The divine dragon transformation that Wang Xian was cultivating required the support of his bloodline. Long Yining didn't have a bloodline, so he naturally couldn't cultivate. However, Wang Xian had a water attribute fate fragment of Heaven Yuan, the Book of Forbidden Water Spells. This book of water forbidden spells was the heaven's origin treasure of the Sword and Magic universe. There was a powerful forbidden spell on it. Heavenly primordial creation level treasures were not limited by the universe. For example, the star field fragment clearly contained the energy attribute of the universe. In the end, the experts of the faith universe were able to control it with the power of faith. He could also control the power of the 9 Essences universe. This was the power of a heavenly origin fortune treasure. There was no limit to the universe. With the Book of Water Forbidden Spells, there were many ways to use the water forbidden spells. He could simply simplify it and impart it to Long Yining. Moreover, it possessed moves that were not any weaker than top-notch cultivation techniques. And this was under the situation of simplification. Brother Wang Xian, I'll attack you and you can see where my flaws are. The two of them came to a separate sparring room on the second floor. Long Yining spoke to Wang Xian. How about this? I'll attack you, and you'll defend and counterattack. I'll see which area you need to improve in. Wang Xian nodded his head and instructed her. That works too. Long Yining nodded and smiled at him. Thank you, Wang Xian. Speaking of which, how old are you this year? Are you really older than me? Are you sure you're not younger than me? Of course I'm older than you, said Wang Xian with a smile. Of course, it was just a casual remark. In fact, Wang Xian was much younger than her. After all, he had cultivated for less than 100 million years. But he couldn't be a lackey, right? I don't believe you. Anyway, you're strong. Whatever you say goes. Come, Long Yining said with a smile, retreating a certain distance. All right, pay attention. My attack will be at the level of an ordinary level 9 universe venerable. Use all your strength to defend and counterattack. As Wang Xian spoke, he swung his arm, and a sharp sword condensed from the power of space flew towards him. Long Yining immediately began to defend and counterattack. Wang Xian was watching from the side. He noted down every single one of her shortcomings. In terms of attack, you are still lacking a lot. Let me teach you some magic to make up for your current shortcomings. After a round of probing, Wang Xian had a comprehensive understanding of her attack and defense. Hence, he spoke to her. Brother Wang, you even know water element magic? Long Yinin's face revealed an astonished expression. I know a little. Let me tell you. Try to condense it. Wang Xian nodded at her and continued speaking. It can't be, big brother Wang Xian. If you want to impart the cultivation of magic to someone, you have to comprehend a magic of a higher level than this magic. Only then can you impart it verbally. Long Yinin said in surprise, although I don't have the water attribute, I have a strong ability to absorb magic and sword techniques. Just listen. Wang Xian found an excuse and said, yeah, brother Wang Xian, you're really a genius. Compared to you, I feel like I'm not even comparable to an ordinary person. Long Yinin said worshipfully. Wang Xian smiled and began to impart magic to her. As for the level of the magic that he was imparting, Wang Xian had no idea. However, it was perfectly compatible with Long Yinin. It could make up for her current shortcomings. Long Yinin immediately started cultivating. While Wang Xian was teaching Long Yinin, his name had already spread throughout the sword and sorcery universe. Donghua Saint from the Donghua Sacred Ground. His strength was definitely not weak among the saints and saintesses from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds. Even if he couldn't be ranked among the top, he was at least above average. After he was instantly killed by Wang Xian, the news also spread and caused quite a stir. Subsequently, the news of Wang Xian from the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land possessing the space attribute and the strength of a second-order universe lord also began to spread throughout the continent. A second-order universe lord, coupled with the space attribute, such strength and talent were definitely top-notch among all the saints and saintesses in the entire continent. The strength of the saints and saintesses from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds that were ranked in the top 10 were only SOSO. In fact, they might even be a little inferior. Not long after, in the ranking of the saints and saintesses, Wang Xian, the saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, reached the 4th place. In the entire ranking of the saints and saintesses, he was ranked 10th. This shocked a large number of experts and disciples from the sword and sorcery universe. To be able to rank in the top 10, he was definitely a terrifying existence in the entire continent. One had to know that there were a total of 20 saints and saintesses from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds that were ranked in the top 10. These powerful saints from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds, were they not even as strong as a saint from the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land who was ranked in the top 100? When the ranking was released, it caused a huge controversy. It was especially so for the disciples and experts from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds who were ranked higher. They felt that their own saints and saintesses were more powerful. In fact, some of the saints and saintesses were slightly unconvinced. The strength of the saints and saintesses from the sacred schools and forbidden grounds that were ranked in the top 10 were first or second order universe lords. The stronger ones had even reached the 3rd or 4th order. At the same level, these saints and saintesses were unconvinced. They had cultivated powerful sword techniques and magic, yet they were no match for a saint from a forbidden land who was ranked in the top 100. This made them a little unconvinced. Those saints and saintesses who were behind Wang Xian were even prepared to challenge him. However, when Wang Xian was resting after teaching Long Yinin for a few decades, Long Yinin told him this news, which stunned him slightly. The obscene forbidden land actually ranked you, brother Wang Xian, in the top 10. Sigh, brother Wang Xian, you're too amazing. The obscene forbidden land wouldn't randomly rank people. Long Yinin had completely turned into a little fangirl as she spoke to Wang Xian. They're all fleeting clouds. If I were to cultivate for another 1,000,000 years, none of them would be a match for me. Wang Xian smiled without the slightest bit of modesty. What a joke. Would he, Wang Xian, be weaker than others? Hee, that's for sure. Long Yinin smiled and nodded. At this time, an idea suddenly popped up in Wang Xian's mind. Speaking of which, the Void Dragon Forbidden Land had been established for millions of years. Now, the energy in the Forbidden Land had almost been absorbed. Perhaps it was time to let them go out for a walk. Let them make a name for themselves. In the Void Dragon Forbidden Land, be it Roving Sword or the other dragon guards, they were all very young. All of them could become saints. Roving Sword had already broken through to the Fourth Order Universe Lord Realm. Chapter 3970. Once he made up his mind, he would do it. Since he had established a force, he had to at least make a name for himself. He wanted to make this the second base of the Dragon Palace. Within the Forbidden Void, Wang Xian's main body opened his eyes and looked down. "Ao Jian," he shouted softly. "Dragon King, what can I do for you?" Roving Sword flew over immediately and bowed respectfully to Wang Xian. "Our Void Dragon Forbidden Land has been here for millions of years. Now, something has happened on the Sword and Sorcerer continent. I'll pass on the information about this continent to you. You guys can go experience it. Let's raise the reputation of our Void Dragon Forbidden Land." With a wave of his arm, a message was transmitted into Roving Sword's mind. "It's Dragon King." Roving Sword received the message and immediately nodded. "Yes, Dragon King. Now that the energy in our forbidden area has been depleted, I also want to go out and gain experience." "All right, go ahead. Be careful. This is a communication device made by the thoughtful Forbidden Land. If there's anything, contact me through it. Also, search this continent to see if there are any grotto heavens or treasure lands like this holy moon," said Wang Xian. "It's Dragon King." Roving Sword nodded. His figure moved and he left immediately. "My current strength is only at the Fourth Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Without the Heaven Origin Good Fortune Fragment, I can only fight against a Ninth Order Universe Sovereign Realm expert. I still need to increase my strength. Let's see if there's any good news for Roving Sword and the rest." Roving Sword's strength is at the Fourth Order Universe Sovereign Realm, and he has the Heavenly Origin Sword Art. He's already extremely powerful. Wang Xian murmured. It would be best if he could increase his strength by 1 or 2 levels. If he could increase his strength by 2 levels, he wondered if he would be able to fight against existences at the Heavenly Origin Creation Realm. Even if he couldn't, he should be able to escape with the help of the Heavenly Yuan Fortune Treasure, right? He thought to himself. However, the Dragon Palace still lacked resources at the moment. He lacked the resources to level up. In the Starry Sky universe, they could not step into the boundless starry sky that had the most resources. The surrounding resources were not enough for him to improve quickly. He still had to rely on the sword and magic universe. Roving Sword led his subordinates and flew out of the Void Dragon Forbidden Land. According to the information he obtained from Wang Xian, he immediately flew towards the center of the universe of swords and sorcery. This place wasn't even the most central place. The central half of the territory was occupied by the 10 great sacred grounds and the Sacred Institute. That was the place with the densest heaven and earth spiritual chi in the entire universe. It was the place with the most treasures. As for the other half of the domain, it was occupied by the Devil Beast Abyss and the Universe Ruins battlefield. Ao Jian was prepared to challenge the saints of the 10 great sacred grounds as the Void Dragon Forbidden Ground Saint. Wang Xian did not pay much attention to Roving Sword and the group of dragon guards. What he was most concerned about now was his Void Divine Dragon body. Every time he cultivated, both his bodies would be comprehending at the same time. This was also one of the reasons why he could improve so quickly. "Come, I'll attack, you block." In the second level of the sky peak of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, Wang Xian continued to guide Long Yining. Long Yining nodded. The 2 swords floated around Long Yining, constantly attacking. She also constantly defended and attacked. With a flick of his palm, the 3rd sword struck out. Long Yining continued to resist. Not bad, not bad. Looking at her combat power, Wang Xian revealed a satisfied look. "Brother Wang Xian, I'm much stronger than I was decades ago. If I meet the Saintess of the 9 Winds Sacred Institute again, I'm confident I can defeat her easily." After fighting for a few days, Long Yining ran over and came to his side with a face full of joy. "Hee, yes, you can defeat her easily." Wang Xian nodded. "Brother Wang Xian, why are you so powerful? You have to know that this has only been a few decades. The improvement of my combat power, even if I used a few million years in the past, wouldn't be able to improve so much. Long Yining looked at Wang Xian with a face full of admiration. It's because your talent is good. Wang Xian smiled and shook his head. No, it's brother Wang Xian. You're too powerful. This magic seems to be tailor-made for me. It's too powerful. Long Yining shook her head and said, Saint Wang Xian, someone is here to challenge you. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Huh. Wang Xian was slightly stunned when he heard it. He waved his arm and opened the door of the training room. Outside, a deacon of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground came to report. Deacon Feng, someone is here to challenge Brother Wang Xian? Is it the saint from which sacred ground? Long Yining was slightly stunned and asked. Yes, it's the saint from the first sacred school of Dharma. He wants to challenge Saint Wang Xian. The deacon nodded his head. First sacred school of Dharma? The saint from the first sacred school of Dharma actually came here to challenge Brother Wang Xian? Long Yining revealed a surprised look. First sacred school of Dharma? Ranked fourth among the 10 great forbidden grounds and sacred schools? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said, Yes, the saint of the first sacred school of Dharma is currently ranked 11th among the saints and saintesses. He probably wants to challenge and defeat Saint Wang Xian. Deacon Feng continued, Saint Wang Xian, let's head over now. The first sacred school of Dharma is very strong. All right, let's head over. Wang Xian nodded his head and immediately flew out. At the same time, the empty space in front of Sky Peak was already filled with experts and disciples of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. There were also 5 to 6 elders from the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. In the middle of the front stood more than 20 young men and women. The 2 leading them each held a huge staff in their hands, and their clothes shone with divine light. Their entire bodies were shrouded in divine light. The huge staff was a head taller than them. At the top of the staff was a beautiful flower that contained immense energy. They were the saint and saintess of the first sacred school of Dharma, and their clothes were also the clothes of the saint and saintess of the first sacred school. They possessed terrifying abilities. In the surrounding area, there were also some young geniuses with strong auras and other saints and saintesses from other forbidden grounds. Wang Xian's eyes fell on the saint of the first sacred school of Dharma and saw through his strength at a glance. The Third Order Universe Lord realm was a little higher than his current realm. However, he cultivated the power of light. Clearly, this saint wasn't convinced of Wang Xian's superiority. A Second Order Universe Lord was above him. He was the saint of the sacred school of Dharma, ranked 4th in the continent. How could he accept it, even if the other party was a swordsman with spatial attributes? Chapter 3971. You're Wang Xian? When Wang Xian and the rest arrived, in the center of the front, the holy sun of the first sacred courtyard landed on him. Beside him, a young man asked directly, Do you want to challenge me? Wang Xian ignored the young man and looked at the saint of the first sacred college. What a joke. Why are you acting tough when you're here to challenge me? I'm not here to challenge you. I'm here to tell the world that you're not qualified to stand above me. The saint of the first sacred college stared at Wang Xian and said plainly, Acting tough was slow. Space is king. You can fight those of a higher level than you. However, this also depends on whose level you're fighting against. Beside the saint of the first law sacred courtyard, the saintess also said lightly, if you want to tell the world that you're stronger than me, you can't just say it with your mouth. You have to prove it with your strength. Wang Xian couldn't help but chuckle when he heard them. Big brother is right. Strength comes from one's fists, not words. Long Yinhao, who heard the news, also flew over and said loudly, If that's the case, don't waste my time. The saint of the first sacred college's eyes turned cold as he slammed the staff in his hand onto the ground. A wave of horrifying light energy landed on the ground, and cracks extended towards Wang Xian's feet. Yes, we really shouldn't waste time. Wang Xian squinted his eyes when he saw the pretentious look on this guy's face. In the next second, more than 90 space swords rose around him. 2 of them were inborn cardinal treasures. The rest were 90 swords set. 92 space swords disappeared in an instant, and attacked the saint of the first sacred college. The crowd around him moved and retreated immediately. At the same time, Long Yinhao, and the rest also retreated immediately. The battle started instantly. The saint of the First Law Sacred College is challenging our Saint Wang Xian. Will Saint Wang Xian be a match for him? Definitely. In the ranking of the saints and saintesses, our Saint Wang Xian is ranked 10th. The ranking of the saints of the One Dharma Sacred College is behind our Saint Wang Xian. The ranking of the obscene Forbidden Land is still very accurate. Although the ranking of the obscene Forbidden Land has been prepared, there's still the possibility of a lower-ranked challenger defeating a higher-ranked challenger. The saint of the First Law Sacred College isn't simple. I hope our saint, Wang Xian, doesn't get careless. After all, it is ranked 4th among all the forbidden areas in our holy lands. The strength of the First Law Academy is very terrifying. The clothes and weapons of their holy sons and holy virgins are specially made. They are extremely terrifying. In the surrounding area, a group of experts and disciples from the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground discussed in low voices. They did not have much confidence in this spar. Although Wang Xian was very strong, and his ranking was 1 rank higher than his opponent, but after all, he was the holy son of the sacred courtyard of Law First. Moreover, his cultivation realm was 1 level higher than Wang Xian's holy son. It was still uncertain who would win and who would lose. This saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land is really arrogant. How dare he be so rude to our saint? This Saint Wang Xian is a little arrogant. However, I don't think the Star City Saint will lose. The space attribute can allow him to fight across levels. However, the possibility of him defeating our Star City Saint is very slim. The group of saints and holy virgins, as well as the supreme talents of the One Dharma Sacred College, who had retreated to the back, commented. They were still very confident about this spar. Moreover, the saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land was currently the most controversial among the entire saints and holy virgins ranking. This was because the obscene Forbidden Land had ranked the saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land 10th, which was even higher than the Star City Saint of the One Dharma Sacred College. This was the biggest controversy. After all, the Star City Saint's cultivation realm was 1 level higher than the saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Land, who was ranked 10th. Therefore, many people felt that the Star City Saint should be ranked 10th. However, no matter how controversial the obscene Forbidden Land was, they did not simply change the rankings of the saints and holy virgins. Holy Light Dharma Body. The Star City Saint snorted when he saw Wang Xian's attack. He waved the huge staff in his hand, and an incomparably huge Holy Light Dharma Body enveloped him. The Holy Light Dharma Body looked the same as him, and it was also holding a huge staff in its hand. The terrifying power of light shot out in all directions. In front of him, 92 sharp swords flashed and completely surrounded the Star City Saint. However, the Star City Saint was unfazed, and there was not the slightest change in his expression. He pointed the huge staff in his hand at Wang Xian. A horrifying ray of light shot towards Wang Xian directly. Wang Xian saw this attack, and his figure disappeared immediately. Wang. At the same time, the sharp swords surrounding the Star City Saint began to fluctuate. Waves of extremely terrifying space swords slashed towards him. Holy palm! The Star City Saint saw it, but his expression did not change at all. He raised the huge staff slowly. The huge Holy Light Dharma Body lifted its palm slowly. That palm expanded rapidly, forming a holy palm defense around the Holy Light Dharma Body once again. Rumble, 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 rumble. Wang Xian's space swords landed on the holy palm, producing a loud boom. At the same time, the beam of light power blasted heavily on the spot where Wang Xian was just a moment ago. His attack was blocked by the holy palm. Similarly, the attack of the Star City Saint was also dodged by him. Tisk, release. The Star City Saint snorted when he saw Wang Xian escaping with his instantaneous movement and blocking Wang Xian's attack. The Holy Light Dharma Body retracted its palm, which was placed on the head of the Dharma Body, and released a terrifying radiance. Countless rays of light shot out in all directions like hair. This move had completely enveloped Wang Xian. Sky collapse. Wang Xian saw this attack, but his expression did not change at all. He teleported above the Star City Saint, condensed a space sword in his hand, and stabbed it towards the center. Swoosh! 92 sharp swords around him trembled and aimed at the ground. Rumble, 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 following which, the 92 sharp swords enlarged and stabbed towards the ground directly. They formed a sword shield defense, absorbing the attack of the Star City Saint. Bam, bam, bam. Countless beams of holy light landed on the sword shield, but were all blocked. The Star City Saint's son frowned slightly when he saw that his attack was easily blocked. Seems like you're pretty strong. He snorted coldly. Wang Xian smiled faintly and said plainly, "Let's end this." As soon as he finished his sentence, the 92 sharp swords that surrounded the Star City Saint instantly slashed towards this space. Sword. Armageddon. Sharp swords appeared out of thin air and slashed towards the Star City Saint in the middle. The terrifying giant sword, from top to bottom, seemed to cover the entire world. Chapter 3972. Swords. Swords that could destroy heaven and earth. The horrifying swords of space sliced through the entire holy light Dharma body. The entire space shrouded him. The horrifying power made the saint of Dharma Sacred College, who was in the center, turn pale. He looked at the gigantic swords that could destroy heaven and earth in horror. He lifted the huge magic staff in his palm. The holy light Dharma body lifted its gigantic palm again. The gigantic palm almost covered the entire body of the Dharma body. Ka ka ka. Bam bam bam. However, the holy light Dharma body only lasted for a few seconds before it began to crumble rapidly. The horrifying swords of space continued to slash towards him. No. Sensing the horrifying attack, the saint of Dharma Sacred College was horrified and couldn't help but scream. Wang. Just as he was filled with fear, Wang Xian waved his arm. The gigantic swords of destruction began to disappear rapidly. Wang Xian waved his arm and the sharp swords flew towards him rapidly. The saint of Dharma Sacred College stood in the center with a pale face. His face was filled with fear and lingering fear. The sudden scene and Wang Xian's sudden killer move had caught everyone off guard. When they finally reacted, the battle was over. How? How could this be? How could he unleash such a horrifying attack in an instant? What a horrifying attack! Our saint of Star City couldn't even defend against it. Too fast, too fast. This battle was too fast. In just 3 moves, that saint of Wang Xian defeated the saint of Star City in just 3 moves. How is this possible? So strong, so strong. Our saint of Wang Xian is really strong to defeat his opponent in just 3 moves. It feels like they are not on the same level. SSS, Saint Wang Xian is so powerful. I was still worried that Saint Wang Xian wouldn't be a match for the Saint of Star City. Now it seems like he defeated him with ease. Our Saint of Wang Xian's strength is more horrifying than I imagined. His ranking should be even higher. What a powerful attack. He defeated the Saint of Dharma Sacred College in 3 moves. He could even control the last move as he wished. What a monster. In the surrounding area, no matter if it was the saintess of the First Law Sacred Academy, the chosen ones, or the other saints and saintesses, they were all stunned. Even the elders, deacons, and other experts and disciples of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground looked at this scene in shock. They had also expected Wang Xian to win, but he had never thought that he would be able to defeat the Star City Saint of the First Law Sacred Courtyard so quickly. One had to know that the other party was the saint of the 4th-ranked superpower. This victory was too fast. It felt like they weren't on the same level. Hoo-hoo. Star City Saint's breathing quickened a little as he looked at Wang Xian with an unusually bitter expression. He had come to challenge with full confidence, but in the end, he was defeated in 3 moves. The strength displayed by the other party was too terrifying. It caused him to completely lose the ability to resist. He was no match for him. In fact, the difference was huge. Please enlighten me. The Saint Son of Star City cupped his hands with an embarrassed look on his face. Then, he moved and left. Today, he had lost a lot of face. Today's battle would definitely resound throughout the entire continent. He, the saint of the First Law Sacred College, would become Wang Xian's stepping stone. His name spread far and wide. He would live up to his name. Take care, everyone from the First Law Sacred College. The elders of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground said politely with a smile on their faces. Then, they looked at Wang Xian with a tinge of shock. Xiao Xian, your combat strength is really terrifying. Yeah. The other party is the outstanding saint of the First Law Sacred College. He's very strong, but he was defeated by Xiao Xian in 3 moves. Ha. Today, Xiao Xian, you defeated the saint of the First Law Sacred College. Moreover, you defeated him in 3 moves. This news will soon spread throughout the continent. At that time, the reputation of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground will be greatly improved. A group of elders flew over and surrounded Wang Xian as they spoke with smiles on their faces. My realm is still too low. I still need to improve. Wang Xian smiled modestly. Xiao Xian, you're too humble. Yeah. It's already very heaven-defying for you to have such strength at this age. The group of elders were not stingy with their compliments. Big brother, you're simply too strong. So strong that it makes people's hair stand on end. Long Yinhao came to the side and looked at Wang Xian with admiration. Big brother, you'll be my lifelong idol from now on. If anyone bullies me in the future, I'll report your name. Go play somewhere else. Why don't you cultivate all day? Long Yinin patted Long Yinhao's head proudly and said with a smile. Haha. The surrounding elders laughed. After today's battle, Xiao Xian's ranking among the saints and saintesses will probably rise a little. Those who can achieve such achievements will basically become the top existences in our continent in the future. Thank you for your compliments, elders. How far have I cultivated? Wang Xian spoke to them modestly for a while. Then, under the respectful and admiring gazes of the surrounding disciples of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, back to his residence. Next, I'll increase my strength first and strive to break through to the Third Order Universe Sovereign Realm. Wang Xian did not continue to guide Long Yinin, but began to cultivate. The resources in his hands were enough to raise him to the Fourth Order Universe Sovereign Realm. However, the process of breaking through still required time to comprehend. It was no longer as simple as it was at the beginning. Wang Xian estimated that to raise to the Third Order Universe Sovereign Realm, he would probably need 5 to 10 million years. However, in the universe, time was the most worthless thing. Time passed quickly. On the main road of the Sword and Magic Universe, the battle between Wang Xian and the Star City Saint of the First Sacred School of Dharma had caused quite a stir. In the past, the Saint of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, Wang Xian was ranked 10th among the saints and saintesses and had attracted a lot of attention. Many saints and saintesses, as well as some experts and disciples, did not agree with this. But this battle had shocked everyone to no end. The Saint of the Star City Saint of the First Sacred School of Dharma's strength and reputation were unquestionable. However, in this battle, he was instantly defeated by the other party in 3 moves. What did this mean? This meant that the Saint of the Star City Saint of the First Sacred School of Dharma was far from him. They were not even on the same level. This caused countless experts and disciples to be extremely shocked. Soon, the ranking of the saints and saintesses of the Innocence Forbidden Ground raised Wang Xian's ranking to 6th place. Yes, from 10th place to 6th place. As for the top 5, the weakest had already reached the Fourth Order Universe Sovereign Realm. In fact, in the current ranking of the saints and saintesses, other than the top 2 who had reached the Fifth Order Universe Sovereign Realm, the rest were all Fourth Order Universe Sovereigns. The reason why the 2 saints could reach such a high realm was because they had cultivated for more than 900 million years. Chapter 3973. Who would have thought that a small Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground could produce such a terrifying saint? What a surprise! I heard that the saint joined later. The Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground only has a water attribute, and their strength is ranked in the 90s. They aren't that strong. Why is the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground so lucky? That Saint Wang Xian must have obtained an incredible opportunity. He might even have gotten the sword bowl of the powerful space swordsman. On our continent, The strongest cultivators of the space attribute are all in the space forbidden ground. How did that Saint Wang Xian get such a powerful sword bowl inheritance? I don't know. If Saint Wang Xian doesn't die in the future, he will probably become one of the top experts on the continent. After all, the space attribute is king. Wang Xian became famous after this battle, and it caused a lot of discussion on the continent. This also raised the reputation of the Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground greatly. Wang Xian didn't know what was happening on the continent, nor did he care about it. After all, Wang Xian was almost at the top in the other universes. At least in the Nine-Source universe, the Dragon Palace was one of the 13 pinnacles. Even if he was forced to leave the Nine-Source universe, Wang Xian was fully immersed in his cultivation. In the center, Wang Xian got Anlai to bring some hearts of faith and absorbed them. Hearts of faith were extremely beneficial for breakthroughs in realms. Wang Xian absorbed some of it and could clearly feel that it was indeed very useful. It could greatly reduce the time needed for his breakthrough. However, it would still take a few million years to reach the Third Order Universe Lord realm. After all, the accumulation of space power also required a long time. Time passed quickly. Because of the ranking of the saints and saintesses, the entire sword and magic continent was bustling. Long Yining came over from time to tell him about the ranking of the saints and saintesses, as well as about him. This allowed Wang Xian to have a better understanding of the changes in the entire continent. Brother Wang Xian. Brother Wang Xian. 4 million years later, Wang Xian was cultivating when he heard Long Yining's voice. He opened his eyes and smiled. What's wrong? Did something interesting happen? Wang Xian stood up, walked to her, and asked with a smile on his face. Something big happened. Something big happened not long ago. Do you still know about the Forbidden Land, the Void Moon? Isn't that place occupied by a force called the Void Dragon Forbidden Land? Long Yining spoke. Of course I know. Why? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and asked. A terrifying son of God has appeared in the Forbidden Space Zone. Not long ago, he challenged the Virgin of the third-ranked Forbidden Space Zone. Do you know what happened? The Holy Maiden of the embroidered Forbidden Land lost to him. Long Yining said with a face full of shock. Oh, really? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and revealed a faint smile. The Forbidden Land of the Void Dragon is really strong. To think that they have such a powerful saint. Yes, all the experts and disciples in the whole continent didn't expect this. They had never heard of the Void Dragon Forbidden Land before. Even when they occupied the Void Moon last time, they were still unknown in the continent. They didn't even have a ranking. However, the battle this time has shocked everyone. A terrifying force that can cultivate such a chosen is definitely not simple. Of course, there is also the possibility that this chosen was cultivated by the Void Dragon Forbidden Land with all its might. Long Yining was still astonished. If the challenge is successful, then so be it. Wang Xian nodded and didn't make a fuss. The dragon guards of the Dragon Palace might have been very weak in the past, even the weakest dragon species in the Dragon Palace. However, things were different now. With the Heavenly Yuan swordsmanship, their strength was already very terrifying. At the same level, the dragon guards with the Heavenly Yuan swordsmanship were basically invincible. Of course, if the other party also had a cultivation manual of the same level, they would be able to contend with them. However, whether such swordsmanship and sorcery existed in the universe of swords and sorcery was hard to say. After all, swordsmanship of this level was comparable to a Heavenly Yuan creation treasure. The effect of a treasure created by Heavenly Yuan was that it possessed terrifying power. And the power of the Heavenly Yuan swordsmanship allowed one to cultivate to the Heavenly Yuan creation realm. Of course, there was a limit to this as well. If an expert were to cultivate this sword technique to the Heavenly Origin creation stage, then others who cultivated this sword technique would never be able to cultivate to the Heavenly Origin creation stage. This was a very frightening shackle. The Heavenly Yuan swordsmanship could not mass-produce existences at the Heavenly Yuan creation realm. Big Brother Wang Xian, aren't you surprised? His sudden rise has caused your ranking to drop by 1 place. You're now ranked 7th. The ranking of saints and saintesses is very exciting now. The geniuses of the powerful Forbidden Lands have also made their moves, and many saints and saintesses have been kicked off the rankings. Long Yining continued. My ranking doesn't matter. It's all just some empty reputation. Oh, right. What's the situation with these geniuses making their moves? Wang Xian asked. It's like this. Some of the saints and saintesses of the sacred lands might not be stronger than the disciples of other sacred lands. For example, the saints and saintesses of the forbidden lands in the top 20 might not be as strong as some of the geniuses of the embroiled forbidden land, who are second only to the saints and saintesses. Now, some of the geniuses of the forbidden lands and sacred colleges, who are second only to the saints and saintesses, have already made their moves. Many saints and saintesses have been defeated by them. Long Yining opened his mouth and continued, just like me and my younger brother, our strength and talent may be very strong in the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground, but in those higher-ranked sacred grounds and forbidden grounds, we are inferior to some of the chosen ones there. Now, look at that saint of the Void Dragon Forbidden Land called Roving Sword. He's indeed terrifying. Even the saintess of the embroiled Forbidden Land is no match for him. That's the saintess of the embroiled Forbidden Land, who can even defeat saints of the same level. As she spoke, she sighed slightly. Clearly, the Void Dragon Forbidden Land was very shocked by the Roving Sword Saint who had appeared out of nowhere. Hee, looks like the ranking of saints and saintesses has changed, said Wang Xian with a smile. Yes, it's already changed. In the past, only saints and saintesses participated. Now, those geniuses can also participate. Moreover, some experts from the embroiled Forbidden Land said that the ranking of saints and saintesses might be renamed to the Sword and Magic Universe's Geniuses ranking. Long Yining said, in addition, this ranking will continue, and there seems to be some benefits in the future. Chapter 3974. How's your cultivation going? Wang Xian chatted with Long Yining about the current ranking of saints and saintesses. After chatting for a few hours, Wang Xian asked, I'll probably need another few million years to break through to the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. I don't know the exact details yet. Long Yining replied, breaking through was difficult. In the universe supremacy realm, it was considered not bad to break through one level in tens of millions of years. Long Yining had relied on her incredible talent and unlimited resources to improve so quickly. As for the universe lord realm, even those especially demon-like existences, breaking through one level in 100 million years was already very terrifying. In the entire universe, after cultivating for close to 1 billion years, the strongest was only at the 5th order universe lord realm. These two existences were the saints and saintesses of the 1st and 2nd forbidden grounds. They relied on what could be said to be the strongest background in the universe, cultivated the strongest magic, and grasped the strongest resources. Under such circumstances, it had taken close to 1 billion years. As for continuing to improve, the speed was even slower. But given the strength of the two forbidden grounds, this saint and saintess could also cultivate to the pinnacle of the universe lord realm. After all, those two forbidden areas possess the fortune of heaven's origin. As for the other saint forbidden grounds and sacred institute, there were no such strong saints and saintesses. Then let's go out in 6 million years. I'll cultivate in seclusion for 6 million years to improve a little more. Wang Xian said to Long Yining. Sure, let's go out for training in 6 million years. By then, I can also cultivate to the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. Long Yining nodded. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile. After chatting with Long Yining for a while, Wang Xian began to cultivate in seclusion. Time passed quickly. Wang Xian was prepared to make another breakthrough in his strength in these 6 million years. 6 million years wasn't short. It should be enough. A few million years wasn't long in the universe, but it wasn't short either. But to the experts in the universe, it was the time for seclusion. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In less than 6 million years, Wang Xian's body shook, and a burst of spatial power erupted from within. Feeling the power in his body, he smiled. Breakthrough. Used more than 5 million years to complete the breakthrough. 3rd order universe lord realm. The next breakthrough will probably take tens of millions of years. After Wang Xian broke through, he opened his eyes to sense it. It would probably take him tens of millions of years to make another breakthrough. And this was under the condition that they had sufficient resources. Once one reached the universe ruler realm, it would be extremely difficult to progress step by step. This was the first time Wang Xian experienced the difficulty of increasing his strength. Unlike in the past, as long as he had enough resources, he could break through directly. He shook his head and calculated. There were still about 500,000 years until 6 million years. His mind moved. Within the forbidden void dragon ground, Wang Xian opened his eyes. While he was in seclusion, Wang Xian's main body had been helping to comprehend the power of space and think of ways to break the shackles of space. It could be said that he was completely immersed in it. Buzz. He moved his hand, took out a communication device, and sent a message to Roving Sword. At the same time, he checked the messages on his communicator. The communicator made by the unscrupulous Forbidden Land was the one with the largest coverage in the entire Sword and Magic universe. It was also a common communicator. Even though the other Forbidden Lands, Sacred Grounds, and Sacred Colleges had their own communicators, most of their information and sharing was through the communicator made by the unscrupulous Forbidden Land. At present, the younger generation of the Sword and Magic universe was very lively. Many young geniuses rose against the heavens. He looked at the ranking of the saints and realized that he was already in 8th place. A genius disciple of a sacred ground suddenly went against the heavens. He defeated a group of saints and saintesses. He was a huge dark horse. This dark horse was far darker than Wang Xian. Of course, at present, the biggest dark horse was still Roving Sword. Roving Sword was ranked 3rd, because he defeated the saintess of the unscrupulous Forbidden Land. A terrifying existence ranked 3rd. The unscrupulous Forbidden Land was recognized as the strongest force in the entire universe. Now, the number 1 was also the saint of the unscrupulous Forbidden Land. Apart from this, Wang Xian also realized that the entire ranking had undergone a huge change. Half of the top 50 were occupied by the saints, saintesses, and geniuses from the top 10 sacred grounds, sacred colleges, and sacred colleges. This was the difference in their foundations. One could not become a saint or saintess in the top 10 forces, but that did not mean that they were no match for the saints and saintesses of the other sacred grounds. A powerful force was a powerful force after all. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, Roving Sword replied. Roving Sword had gone to the universe ruins. According to him, the universe ruins was an incomparably huge battlefield. The energy inside was extremely chaotic. In some places, even universe sovereigns would be reduced to ashes if they stepped in. The energy was chaotic. The entire Sword and Magic universe had been explored for more than 20 billion years, but it had yet to be fully explored. There were still many treasures there. The most important reason was that it possessed the power of space. With the power of space, under the transformation of space, many places in the universe ruins were constantly changing. This was also the reason why it had not been fully explored. Roving Sword was not alone. He had brought many subordinates with him. Among the Dragon Guards, Roving Sword was not the only one who had reached the 4th Order Universe Sovereign Realm. How many more were there? The rest had all reached the 3rd Order Universe Sovereign Realm. After Wang Xian replied to Roving Sword's message, he was deep in thought. This time, I'll go to the universe ruins and see if I can get any opportunities and treasures. If I can get some treasures to enhance my physical body, that would be great. Wang Xian thought to himself. In the following hundreds of thousands of years, Wang Xian practiced his sword techniques. Big brother Wang Xian. The appointed time arrived quickly, and Long Yanin's voice came from outside. Wang Xian opened his eyes, moved, and immediately teleported outside. You've broken through? Wang Xian looked at her and asked. Yeah, I've broken through. I've broken through for a long time. I've already told Dad and Grandpa about us going out for training. They have also allowed us to go out. Long Yanin smiled at Wang Xian. A look of anticipation appeared on his face. Speaking of which, other than going to the center of the Forbidden Land Grand Ceremony once, I've never been there again. This time, will we be going to the universe ruins or the abyss of magical beasts? Chapter 3975. Let's go to the universe ruins. Wang Xian said to Long Yanin. This was something he had decided long ago. All right, I have no objections. Long Yining nodded. My brother will be coming with us. There will only be the three of us for this training. No problem. Wang Xian nodded. Yeah, before we leave, my grandfather asked us to look for him. Long Yining nodded. Let's head over first. Wang Xian nodded his head. Both of them made a move and flew out immediately. Long Yinhao, come out. Long Yining shouted when they were outside. I'm coming, sister. I'm coming. Big brother Wang Xian. Long Yinhao flew over immediately with an excited look on his face. Let's go to grandfather. Long Yining said to him. Hee, no problem. We can finally get out. Ha ha ha, we can finally get out. Long Yinhao had an excited expression on his face as he shouted in high spirits. Wang Xian looked at him and smiled. Long Yining was speechless by the side. Grandfather. The three of them flew to the top of the sky peak. Long Yinhao shouted before they arrived. Hee, Xiaoxian, Yining, Yinhao, you're here. Come over here. There's a change of plans. This time, you guys have to change your plans. The voice of the third elder came from a palace above. Huh. Wang Xian and the rest were taken aback when they heard it. They immediately flew inside. When they flew over, they found that there were quite a few elders inside. Greetings, elders. Wang Xian and the rest bowed to the group of elders. Hee, take a seat. Fortunately, you guys didn't leave. Coincidentally, there's something else. This time, your training will be delayed. No, it should be because you guys have a better training ground. The third elder looked at them and said, Huh, what's the matter, grandfather? What's going on? Long Yinhao asked in surprise. Grandfather, I've already reached the pinnacle of the universe supremacy realm. Why can't I go out? Hee, it's not that you can't go out, but there's a good thing. It's a great opportunity for you. Third elder smiled and said, this time, under the leadership of the thoughtful forbidden ground and the flowing water forbidden ground, the top 10 forbidden grounds and sacred grounds are preparing to open up a treasure land. They're sending the current generation's holy sons and saintesses, as well as those supreme talents, to one place. Grandpa, is there such a good thing? Long Yining was slightly taken aback and could not help but ask. In order to deal with the cultivation calamity, all the powerful forbidden lands and sacred academies are willing to offer some treasures. Of course, all the forbidden lands and sacred academies are aware of the existence of that treasure land. In the past 20 billion years, all the powerful forbidden lands and sacred academies have been exploring it, but none of them have found any great fortune in it. Therefore, they are willing to open it to all the chosen ones. The third elder said. Third elder, what is that place? Wang Xian could not help but raise his eyebrows when he heard that. Rumor has it that it's the center of the universe ruins. That's the battlefield of divine Yuan creation realm experts. We've also heard rumors that it's the battlefield of our universe's divine Yuan creation realm experts and other universes' divine Yuan creation realm experts. Although there weren't any Sky Yuan or Fortune level experts that perished there, there were many peak universe rulers that perished there. The third elder answered. However, he himself could not be sure of what he said, as he had only heard rumors. Perhaps only the powerful forbidden lands and sacred academies knew the real reason. Now, with the thoughtful forbidden ground and the flowing water forbidden ground as the leader, they've given all the forbidden lands and sacred academies a benefit. That is, all the holy sons and saintesses of the forbidden lands and sacred academies can enter. In addition, if the holy sons and saintesses of the forbidden lands and sacred academies rank in the top 10 of the universe's chosen ones, they can bring an additional 20 disciples in. If they can rank in the top 20, they can bring 10. This time, because of you, Xiaoxian, our dragon roar forbidden ground may benefit from it. We can send 20 disciples in, said the great elder of the dragon roar forbidden ground. There was also a hint of excitement on his face. Once they could enter and cultivate, it would be comparable to cultivating in the core of the dragon roar forbidden ground. And the core of the dragon roar forbidden ground could not be given to a disciple at the level of a universe supremacy to cultivate. If they could enter this place to cultivate, it would be a great opportunity for them to do nothing but cultivate. In particular, this time, the cultivation time inside could be very, very long. There's such a good thing? Long Yinhao's eyes shone with excitement. Yes, it's your good luck. And it's also our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground's good luck. Hee. If nothing goes wrong, with Xiao Xian's strength, it won't be a problem for her to rank in the top 10 of the Chosen Ones. When the time comes, our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground, including the 3 of you, will be able to send another 20 disciples. The great elder beside him laughed. In addition, I'll bring you to the center of the continent, Tianyuan City. The specific names haven't been confirmed yet, and the rankings of the Chosen Ones have yet to be confirmed. Next, there should be another round of competition for the Chosen Ones. This slot is very important to many forbidden grounds and sacred grounds. The third elder continued speaking to them. Grandpa, many saints, saintesses, and supreme talents will be able to enter that place this time. Long Yinhao said, moreover, those powerful forbidden grounds, sacred grounds, and sacred colleges should have more slots than us. That's for sure. Places like the embroiled forbidden ground and the flowing water forbidden ground will probably send a few hundred disciples. It's already good enough for 2 of our sacred grounds and forbidden grounds. Only our Dragon Roar Forbidden Ground and the Void Dragon Forbidden Ground are lucky. A dark horse has appeared. The third elder replied with a smile. In other words, there might be over 1,000 geniuses who will be able to enter. Hee. I wonder what my ranking will be among those geniuses. Long Yinhao smiled as he spoke. His eyes filled with fighting spirit. Cut the crap. Get ready. We're going to Tianyuan City, the third elder said. The third elder said, I'm afraid you'll have to stay outside for a long time this time. Make all the necessary preparations. I'll also prepare some things for you. Yes, Grandpa. Yes, third elder. Wang Xian and the rest nodded. After exchanging a few words, they went back to their own places. When he arrived at his residence, his eyes flickered. Wang Xian had not expected there to be such benefits. He could enter the core of the universe ruins directly. Chapter 3976. Wow, this is Tianyuan City? Isn't it too vast? This is my first time here. It's like 100,000 mountains, so spectacular. Tianyuan City was the city with the longest history in the universe of sword and sorcery. During the last cataclysm, this place was called the Tianyuan General Selection Platform. The so-called General Selection Platform was where the armies of the universe of sword and sorcery gathered during the last cataclysm. After the cataclysm, this place became Tianyuan City. It could be said that this Tianyuan City was protected by the experts of the universe of sword and sorcery with their lives. Therefore, Tianyuan City didn't belong to any forces. It was the largest trading ground in the entire universe of sword and sorcery. It was also a place where the forbidden grounds and sacred grounds conducted public affairs. For example, negotiations and the like. Within Tianyuan City, there was a rule that forbade any experts and disciples from fighting here. No matter which sacred ground or forbidden ground you were from, anyone who fought here would die. This was an order issued by the creation realm experts of the universe of sword and sorcery. No one could defy it. Even the experts and disciples of the Innocence Forbidden Ground and the Flowing Water Forbidden Ground. After some preparations, Wang Xian and the rest came directly to Tianyuan City. It was Long Yinhao and the rest's first time here. It was also the first time for the 20 disciples of the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground behind them. They looked around in amazement, and their eyes sparkled. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings as well. This Tianyuan City was more like 100,000 mountains, transforming the mountains into flat tops. On top of each peak, there were all kinds of stalls and restaurants. The scene here was indeed spectacular. Wang Xian looked around, his eyes shining. Let's go to the most central position. Leading the group was the Great Elder and the rest. This time, there were more than a dozen elders. This time, for a forbidden ground of their level, it was a great opportunity. If they were lucky, they could nurture many elite experts for the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Ground. Of course, the main reason was also Wang Xian. Ordinary sacred grounds, forbidden grounds, and Sacred Institute only had 2 slots. Because Wang Xian was currently ranked 8th on the Prodigy leaderboard, they had 20 slots. Continuing to fly forward, Tianyuan City was huge. After flying for half an hour, they arrived at the center of Tianyuan City. There was an incomparably huge mountain peak. The mountain peak had been sliced in half, forming a huge arena. In the surroundings, there were many mountains surrounding it. These mountains were also incomparably huge, but compared to the central mountain arena, it was much smaller. Wow, what a huge mountain! I can't see the end of it. Long Yinhao looked at the mountain peak that had been severed in the middle, his face filled with shock. Haha, rumor has it that this mountain peak was directly chopped off by a Tianyuan Fate Master from our sword and magic universe. Do you see that? That's the upper half of the mountain peak. The first elder smiled and pointed to the front. In front of them was a mountain peak. That mountain peak was also incomparably huge. If one took a closer look, they would be able to see that it completely overlapped with the mountain that had been chopped off by the waste. On that mountain peak, there were many humongous words. The words flickered with a golden light, and the most eye-catching words were the prodigy ranking. Below those 3 words, there were many names. Number 1 was the honest saint of the honesty forbidden land. The second place was the flowing water saintess of the flowing water forbidden land. Number 3 was the void dragon saint of the void dragon sacred land. Each and every name was exceptionally eye-catching and could be seen from afar. Among them, Wang Xian's name was ranked 8th. Big brother Wang Xian, look, your name is up there too. Long Yinhao pointed to the 8th name and exclaimed loudly. Wang Xian smiled. There were a total of 20 names, and his name was on it too. Haha. The group of elders from the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land looked over, their faces filled with excitement. This ranking also caused their Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land to become famous. Come on, go to the edge of the Tianyuan Peak in the center. In the next 1,000 years, the rankings of the prodigy ranking will be completely determined. When that time comes, the experts from the unscrupulous Forbidden Land will send the saints, saintesses, and the prodigy ranking to the ruins of the universe for cultivation. The first elder continued speaking as he continued flying forward. Only when they reached the arena of the Tianyuan Peak did they feel incomparably small. Compared to this incomparably huge arena, they were even smaller than ants. This was like throwing an ant into the ocean. At the edge of the arena, there were numbers. These numbers corresponded to the rankings of the Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies. The Sacred Academies and Sacred Academies were all gathered here. When they arrived at the Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land, there were already quite a number of Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies. However, as they swept their gaze across, there were not many from the elite Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies. We have to wait here for 1,000 years first. This 1,000 years will be the most intense 1,000 years, the first elder said to Wang Xian and the rest. Said the great elder to Wang Xian and the rest. His gaze eventually landed on Wang Xian. Xiao Xian, don't be nervous. You're currently ranked 8th. It won't be easy to pull you out of the top 10. It's fine, first elder. My strength has improved a little over the past 10 million years. Wang Xian smiled and replied nonchalantly. He now had the strength of a third-order universe lord. His combat strength was enough to fight against fourth-order saints and saintesses. Moreover, due to his own attributes, Wang Xian's current strength should not be weaker than Roving Sword. The current Roving Sword. He was a fourth-order universe lord with the metal attribute. That's good. This time, our Roaring Dragon Forbidden Land can hold our heads high because of you. Xiao Xian, the first elder said with a smile. Wang Xian also smiled as he sat by the side and scanned the surroundings. Those who had arrived were basically the Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies that were ranked outside the top 50. Up ahead, there were disciples sparring with one another. Wang Xian did not have much interest. He sat there and chatted with Long Yining and Long Yinhao. As time passed, more and more experts and disciples from the Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies arrived. After 200 years, basically all the experts and disciples from the Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies had arrived. Look at Big Brother. That's the thoughtful Forbidden Land and the flowing water Forbidden Land. They are the 2 strongest existences in our continent. They possess the existence of Heaven Yuan creation. When all the Forbidden Grounds and Sacred Academies had arrived, Long Yinhao looked in one direction and spoke to Wang Xian.